Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Coming to you almost live from an unmarked grave in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, it's the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number 108. It's May 30th, and I'm your host, Lord Bill. Hey, does grave dirt come out in a normal wash cycle? Castello, and with me today, all the way down from the Cursed City, is Josh.
You better call Alt.
Fresh off of your recent victory.
Yes, yeah. We're a week late in recording this because I actually had to go down to Clovis for a felony trial. They're opening back up. We're handling jury trials here in New Mexico. So I had to go down there and handle a quick jury trial. And I don't think I've said officially, I'm a criminal defense attorney.
Yes.
So we got not guilty in less than 15 minutes.
Ooh, that's pretty good. They didn't deliberate very long.
No, not at all. In fact, we were actually going to head back to the Airbnb, which was 8 minutes away, in order to just drop off some stuff. And then, just be ready in case they call, because you have to be within 10 minutes of the courthouse. We got all the way down there, and they called us.
Oh, my God.
It's like, oh, man, like you never really know with a jury.
Yeah.
If it's quick, either someone had such a decisive victory, or they just can't convict at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I got back there, it was not guilty. So it was a fun little venture. Good to get back in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Able to flex on, the prosecutors, and I don't know, I just love the rules of evidence. Something about being in trial and like manipulating the rules, not manipulating the rules, but using the rules effectively and knowing what comes in, what doesn't. In fact, in the law, we have this thing called motions in limine where we try and keep out things before trial. And I kept out the state's case essentially in limine because they messed up so bad. So it was a good time. It was a good time, but I'm glad to be back and recording because we got a lot to talk about today.
It's I keep saying we're not going to do another 3-hour show, and then they just dump stuff on us, and it's like, how can you not cover this? So this really is the Soulblight episode, but then again, they dropped AoS 3.0 in the preview yesterday, so we're going to be bouncing all over the place, having a good time covering everything and pontificating on what we think is going on. But 2 quick notes. First of all, congrats on winning your trial.
Thank you.
And second of all, a happy Memorial Day to all those folks in the United States who celebrate that kind of a day. I know it's a bank holiday in England, so yay. So, last but not least, we may have teased last time a bit of a giveaway.
Yes, we did. I could see it sitting right there, still in the shrink wrap. We are going to be giving away a copy of Cursed City. And so we're actually going to be using this opportunity to help with charitable giving.
Yep.
So what we decided to do is we started a GoFundMe page. Link is going to be in the description, so make sure you click on that. And it's going to be for St. Jude's Children's Cancer Research Hospital.
You betcha. It's the same one we did last time. I'm kind of partial to St. Jude's myself. Mm-hmm. They do pretty amazing work, and what they do, they try to make sure it's as free as possible for the families. So, yeah, I can't not endorse them highly.
Bill, and so how do people get entries?
Well, it's going to work the same as last time. For every $5 you donate, you will get 1 raffle entry. We will set a date in the future, probably in the next show, we'll put an end date. Mm-hmm. I'm not ready to, I would say maybe like all of June. And once we hit that end date, we'll toss all those names into a spreadsheet and use the old random.org to pull a winner. Patrons, you're automatically entered at whatever level you're in the Patreon for. So, but if you want to give more, you just add more. You add more entries. So yeah, for every $5, it's a good cause, I think. And once again, total transparency. I haven't hidden anything on that GoFundMe page. You can see everything. 100% of that money goes to St. Jude's. We don't see a penny. There's no way for us to see a penny. It's a GoFundMe charity.
And this is a fantastic opportunity to give back. There's an incentive and the chance of getting Cursed City, but it is a great cause. So make sure you get out there. And even just 1 entry, just to show support for St. Jude's will be very welcome.
When we get to the battle section, I will tell you about, I hate doing this because Cursed City was such a weird release and not everybody got their hands on it, but we can't also avoid it. It is a flippin' great game. And I had potentially one of the best face-to-face game experiences I've ever had with our local game group that we have going on Monday nights. This past Monday night, it was amazing, but we'll get to that in battle. Do we have any other housekeeping to talk about?
No, I think we need to dive into it, given that, Dominion just dropped yesterday.
Oh, God. I hate Games Workshop. I just want to end the intro on that note. So, yeah, let's kick right into New Dawn. And, the elephant in the room was the preview yesterday of the Dominion box. And I want it now. Oh, my God. It's Indomitus all over again. Now, let's hope it's not Indomitus all over again. Let's hope it's a better version. But you basically get two armies, two opposing forces, a special edition rule book. I don't think was there dice and stuff. I
didn't see dice. I know the War Scroll cards are in there.
Yeah, the War
There's
Scroll
also
cards.
A story to explain why these two factions are fighting.
Yeah, it's Indomitus. But I mean, it is. They even made note of the fact that it's their heaviest box they've ever put out.
Well, what did it say? 60 GW miniatures in that box.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You get like enough Stormcast to really start. If you haven't started Stormcast yet, which you must be under a rock, but if you haven't started Stormcast yet, you have a leg up because all the stuff that came before is trash. Oh yeah. And you are well on your way. And then of course the there might be some swampy orcs or Ucks. Yeah, there might be some swampy guys who might work with another big fella that we all know and love.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So the Cruel Boys,
they look amazing. And when I first saw them, immediately I thought, well, they really took some of the aesthetic from the Lord of the Rings in order to create these guys.
Yeah.
The orcs are a lot more, lean compared to what you see with, Iron Jaws, even the Savage orcs, right?
Yeah.
The Savage orcs are just ripped dudes.
Yep.
And these guys are like lean and mean.
Yes.
And mean apparently is what they are because they're sneaky, they're tricksy.
Oh my gosh.
They're looking for any leg up. This is not something where they play fair. And I am so hoping that the rules reflect that, with much more tricksy plays, maybe with was it Spell Kalla Shaman? Is that the one it was?
Yeah.
Or Swamp Kalla Shaman.
Swamp Kalla.
The Swamp Kalla. They talked about how he brings the swamp and the mists with him, right?
Yeah, kind of almost like the, what's his name? Namardi and, those elves from the Under the Ocean.
Thiepkin.
Yes, the Idnet Thiepkin.
There it is. Yeah, and I'm wondering how that's going to reflect in the game, whether is it going to be something like a terrain piece type of thing? Are you going to like create markers where the mists and the swamps have gathered? What's going to happen there, and how does that affect the army? Is there going to have if you got the swamp, you have a knothole type situation where they can disappear into the mists and reappear?
Maybe they're going to revamp the terrain rules and actually have like difficult terrain that actually matters.
Yeah.
Where he might be able to create an X by X area of swamp, and it's really hard to run your cavalry through that when they get stuck in the mire.
Exactly.
So maybe they're doing something with terrain rules. That wasn't one of the 8 points.
Yeah.
Which it is another thing that really bothered me was they came out with 8 things. Anyway, yeah.
So I think we'll probably dive a little bit more into that when we get to the lore section.
Yeah.
In terms of our thoughts, more particularly on the models, that kind of stuff, since we're just getting through New Dawn, just talk about what just came out. So.
Right. All right, so you wanted to go into pre-orders. Really, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, some 40K stuff. All right.
we know this weekend is just so much, man. Like, we just had back-to-back bangers, just like with the whole announcement of AoS 3, them, giving us that little bit of a tease.
Saying it's going to be in June.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man. Get your pocketbooks ready, folks.
Yeah, it's going to hurt.
If you didn't already dump a bunch of money on this one, because we got Kragnos finally, both the Broken Realms book and his model.
Oh, my God.
He's still glorious looking. I'm really interested to see the story. And, of course, that'll probably be the subject of our next show. But
sure.
I am excited to see how this changes things up.
The teases from that book so far with Alariel getting a new War Scroll, which I think is long overdue.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get her back in the realm of the gods that she belongs in. So yay for Sylvaneth folk. And just the idea that they're going to bring all this stuff. They're going to tie all this stuff in together. And, I cannot wait for this book. I find myself wishing they weren't stopping with Kragnos, that they would keep going, because these books are so refreshing and the time is turning. Things are happening. But I guess also they've done enough stuff that they can play in this new arena for quite some time.
Yeah.
And it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And one thing I'm thankful for is that we didn't have a full like psychic awakening type of thing.
Yeah.
Where they had to go through every single, army in 40K in order to make sure that they touched everyone in the way they liked it.
Yeah.
And unfold the story that way. Like they did it in 4 books. They hit a lot of factions, preparing everyone for 3.0 essentially, but opened up the story to where it could actually move forward in a significant way without just delaying it for the sake of delaying it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And honestly, when you look at in the books, the factions that they hit, I mean, so they hit Lumineth Realm Lords. We kind of knew that this was in the offing, that whole thing had to be tied together. And a lot of the weirdness of that release was COVID. So get over that. But they're hitting some of they hit Nighthaunt really hard and gave them reason to actually pick up your Nighthaunt again, because they are very, very, they're a lot more fun to play. I'm not going to say they're super competitive, but we covered that last time. They're giving all these, they're going to do Sylvanet. They're going to give Alariel some new life. They're breathing life where some of this stuff has been moldering for too long.
Yep.
And then we're going to get 3.0, which you got to figure they may have play tested once or twice, probably 3 times, maybe a couple of games in the back room.
One for every edition.
Yeah.
So 3 times.
Sure. 3 times. So, they've probably made some balance changes across the board. So I'm ready. These books have been so good. I want more. I want more. But anyway, another thing that came out. So, I keep thinking back to the old GW. In any of the past GW offerings, putting out Kragnos and his book would be the headliner. It would be the do-all end-all for the month. And here's what you spend your money on. But this month, no, what the heck? We're going to throw a new Lord Croak at you. And not only is he, an incredible model, but he's also got a War Scroll that is off the hook.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All Seraphon players wanted an updated model.
Sure. Yes.
Right? It's been way too long, and that fine cast,
that resin was so bad. I'm so glad I'm going to take it out in the backyard and burn it. I'm not.
Yeah, I know you're just going to put that Lord Croak in the annals of history.
Mm-hmm.
You might remember him someday, but we're going to move forward with the new Croak. Gorgeous, bigger model, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? Coming in screaming at, $115, I think it was.
Yeah, 115.
And his War Scroll. I mean, it's sort of like they kind of went back to what he was before in terms of how his wounds worked.
Yep.
And then he was a 4 spellcaster.
Well, 4 spellcasts, unlimited unbinds in the other guy's turn, and with his automatic +2, with then the Seraphon pluses he's going to get, he's pretty much going to turn off magic if you have it, and his is going to be just fine.
Yep.
So, yeah, I feel bad for you, Teclis. I feel bad for you, Zinch, Slanesh. Anybody who kind of semi-relies on magic to do their thing, give it up, people. There's a new Croak in town, and he's revitalized. He's no longer the dead mummy-wrapped frog that we all knew and loved.
Yeah, I mean, even like how his model looks now, he looks more alive than he did before.
Yeah, because they refer to him as Croak the everlasting or newborn or something. They even monikered him as this is his coming out party again.
Yeah,
he's tired of being dead, so he just remembered flesh.
Yeah, and the thing that gets me about him is I don't think his points really changed. We'll go into that more next show, but he's just a powerhouse of where he is.
Yeah, he is a significant addition to an already powerful faction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he is they're going to define, I think, the competitive scene for a little bit.
That's really what it's going to be. I'm a fan of, all the armies moving towards, everyone calls the fat middle online, right?
Yeah.
Like moving towards where it's balanced.
Yes.
Right? I don't like to see those
outliers,
big outliers. that just smash everything, you know, like it's such denial. Like, I mean, I think that really you'd have to hit pretty hard with hopefully, you know, with the destruction revamps and everything, you know, that they're going to be able to be like the hard counter to that.
Yep.
Because even if you have these massively powerful books, there has to be something that stops it. Yeah. Right. So I'm hoping that comes with destruction.
Yep. Yeah. They're just, I think AOS 3.0 and what we're seeing, the changes being made, I think they're heading down that road to, like you said, just make it a big fat middle to where you have nothing that is unplayable because they're so bad or something that's over the top good. So I love it. So moving on, let me see. The models for Galen and Doralia from Curse City are coming out.
Love it.
Yeah, those are gorgeous models. Super nice. Oh man. Yeah, just yay. Then the twins.
Yeah, Dixessa and Sinessa. You were actually looking at this before the show, just trying to figure out, you know, how big these models might be.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, how big are they? They're like a keeper of secrets or what is it? Well, interestingly enough, they're on 105 millimeter ovals base.
Yeah.
From what we've seen in the War Scrolls, you know, on GW's website, they don't hit that hard from at first.
Yeah.
You know, they seem almost like strong demon princes.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know how hard they're really going to hit. I mean, we want to think that the new Hedonites book was built for 3.0.
Yeah.
Right. They obviously would have it in mind because it's so close to the release. Same thing with Doc and all that, but, you know, Doc still stayed amazing. You know, in fact, it kind of got better.
Yes, they did.
Points drops.
Marathi.
I mean, Marathi Kane is just...
oh, my God.
Just too good. Just too good. But I don't know. I hope that with everything that comes out in 3.0, we'll talk about the 8 things later. But I hope the things that come out in 3.0 revitalize that army.
Yes.
I think there's going to be a lot to do with, and we'll talk about this in Soulblight, but like having multiple generals and how that's going to affect you.
Yes. That seems to be a new thing for them, is multiple generals.
Yeah.
So
they hinted at it hard with Nighthaunt.
Yep.
Right? Where we talked about last time, and get up to 3 generals. And then you look at the Virkos dynasty, you can have up to 5 generals.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
And in reality, it doesn't, other than expanding the ranges of your basic abilities, it's really not that harmful to the game, I don't think, to have multiple. But we're getting AOS 3.0-ish. So Dixessa and Sinessa, those are gorgeous models.
Yes.
I mean, all of the Slaanesh line is, I truly hate it because I don't like Slaanesh all that much, and I don't have a desire to play that, which is odd for me because I like every single army. Mm-hmm. But just the models itself draw you in, and it makes me want to buy them. I hate it.
Slaanesh is like that, though. Like, whenever I talk to people about Slaanesh, it is, you know, like polar opposites. I've not really seen anyone who's truly middle of the road where they're like, yeah, some of the design's pretty cool, but, you know, I'd play it, but not necessarily as my main army.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty much like, I don't like it or I love it. But one thing that people cannot deny is how gorgeous the models are.
No, they are, whoever is doing the design on those just has the aesthetic in their head, and they're being very focused with it, and everything ties together. You don't look at a model and go, what is that? You know it's Slaanesh.
Yeah.
So
then we've got, speaking of Doc, the Melusai Iron Scale coming out. If you remember, that was in the dual box.
Yeah.
A while back with Slaanesh.
Yeah, who knew?
The Iron Scale's okay. I mean, it's all right. I mean, I don't really see myself ever running it.
In an army of heroes, I don't know what niche it fills. I'm not certain. I don't know where it falls in the scope of why you would take it. So, I don't know.
Yeah, you have too many better choices.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're playing for fun, I guess if you're trying to do, you know, like a snake list.
Yeah.
You know, just pure snakes, oops, all snakes. And, you know, you're just like, well, I want the snake hero just because it's the snake hero.
It's the snake. Yeah. That's where you would go for it. So
yeah, it's all right.
No issues.
Then we have the War Song Revenant. Oh.
Wow.
I mean, that's one thing. aside from Dryads, when you're dealing with Sylvaneth, you got pretty models.
Yes.
Right? They painstakingly make these things. And the Warsong Revenant looks gorgeous. Rules look pretty good too.
Yeah.
You know, the Sylvaneth needs something, obviously. You know, there's not in the best place. But visually, they're in a great place.
Yes. And, you know, with what we know is coming, i.e. the Warsong Revenant and changes to Alariel, that might change very quickly into, wow, they're badass again.
Yeah, yeah. The thing that is a pain in the butt for Sylvaneth, though, is always going to be those wildwoods.
Yeah.
You know, particularly when you've got like a hefty amount of terrain already on the board.
Yeah.
You know, if there's something where the Sylvaneth could, I don't know, turn terrain into wildwoods.
You know, it's the one thing in that faction that bothers me the most is the interplay and how they've never really nailed it yet.
Yeah.
Is how those, you know, back in the old days where you just flooded the board with woods to where no one else could play except you.
Mm-hmm.
It was ridiculous. And then they came out with that whole thing about, well, it has to be 1 inch within 1 inch or in 1 inch, you know, just needless controversy because you didn't write it well. They have always fumbled the woods. And it's sad because that mechanic should be relatively simple. Like you said, take an existing piece of terrain, turn it into a wood pile.
Yep.
And that's it. Now it's a little place for the Sylvaneth to be happy. And instead of trying to choke the board with, you know, because you literally zone out most of the armies.
Yep.
If you take Sylvaneth against Gargants and you just toss down enough woods where they can't get over, okay, well, they're hemmed in. This was a fun game. Yay. So,
well, I mean, you know, Kragnos could probably say something about that.
He might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
Seeing as he eats terrain.
Right.
Good Lord. Oh, my gosh. Well, you know, we know there's terrain changes coming, at least with Kragnos. Good Lord.
As in you don't have your terrain anymore?
As in, yeah. Wow. Oh, my gosh.
Now, they dropped the box sets.
The Broken Realms box sets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to why they released what they did. You know, like, for example, the Drycha one, right?
Yes.
Unless you're just getting into Sylvaneth, you've got Drycha.
Yeah.
Like, you just have her. It's one of those things that was just standard for you to pick up.
Yeah.
And what's Drycha and 2 sets of the Revenants, right? Which you probably have anyway. So I'm interested to see what the battalion does, you know, because obviously that's going to be part of it.
Sure.
I kind of like the Beasts of Chaos one, though, because, you know, Bulgors weren't like necessarily readily accessible anywhere else. And not saying that they're the best in the army. They're probably not. I love how they look. I actually like putting them together. I think they're a really nice build. But getting, you know, 6 Bulgors in, and then, you know, your Gorgon, and then I think it comes with a Beast Lord too. Is that what it comes with?
I think, yeah, Beast Lord.
Okay, yeah. So that's fun. Slaanesh one is very I'm not a big fan of that one.
Honest, and this is not a hot take. This is me just wondering if this is a warehouse clearing set of boxes and they just want to move some of these sprues that have been hanging out for too long because they didn't have another box that fit them. And
maybe, yeah.
You know, it just, the Skaven box is like, really? Okay. I mean, it's a really neat box, and there's stuff in there that, you know, a new person might not have gotten because they didn't know where to find all of that stuff in the myriad of GW things. So yeah, I mean, there's reasons to buy all of these boxes. It's just, if you're already established, you're not going to do it. These are things that are going to flesh out your force if you just started. So
yeah, I'm really interested in the narrative aspect of it, particularly because I think the Skaven box, isn't it Radachak? You know, our guy who
Radachak's Doomcoven.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see what Radachak does here. I just hope they write it well, you know, and they have been, you know. So if the previous books are any type of indicator that we're going to get some good story based on like how this is, and it's cool, you know, they're bringing Drycha back into the story and making her significant again. Yeah. Hopefully, seeing these different factions, I'm just interested for story purposes. But in terms of boxes, I'm not terribly thrilled. Other than I like the Beast one just because I like Minotaurs. I mean,
you know, and that's just like with any of these boxes, even the getting started boxes. If they hit you, then they're the perfect box. If they don't, well, then you can pass on them. It's not like you are required to have this in order to play that faction. No, these are just nice little ways to get everything all in one box. And, looking at the cost of some of these, there's some significant savings offered by these boxes.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's, even if you do end up with 2 Dreiches, so you have something to kit bash with.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on from that. The other big notable thing that was up for pre-order, for at least my thought, was the chapter approved and grand tournament pack for 2021 Mark II, new numbers for 40K, new rules, new chapter approved.
Yep.
Age of Sigmar has kind of held the limelight for the past few weeks. So good to see 40K getting a little bit of love. And of course, well, I say that at the same time that all the AdMech stuff is pouring out.
Oh, yeah.
But, it hasn't been, they haven't been the focus for the last few previews. So very nice to see that's coming out. Speaking of AdMech, well, hell, everything came out.
Oh, yeah. You got the Combat Patrol. You got the new book.
Dice cards.
Everything that you could want as an AdMech player. I, to be honest, haven't looked at him, which I probably should have because I have that army. What I hear is that they got ridiculously good.
Yeah, very, very good. Options now to not just run very distinct and very elite AdMech, but you can also run Horde AdMech now, which I think is a kind of an interesting twist. AdMech has always been reasonably elite. Their units are small but powerful. Now it looks like you have a lot more flavorful options to pick from, which is always good.
Yep.
And, I picked up, I was probably needlessly silly yesterday. I picked up the cards and the dice just because I have a friend at work and she does AdMech. And I'm betting dimes to dollars she didn't get into the store to get that stuff. So I will just plop it on her desk Monday morning or Tuesday morning and say, surprise.
Here you go.
So yeah, she's working on this amazing AdMech army. She is converting every single model.
Oh my God.
There is not one that is just out of the box, shake the kit. Nope. They're all, and some of it is themed on the Star Wars stuff. So they have a little bit of that, just more robed and they look more tech adepty than your average Skitarii. So yeah, it's really cool. She's doing a lot of work. So hopefully get her all that stuff in case she didn't get it. Up for sale this week. If you like wolves and you like dead and you like dead wolves, this was a great week for you.
That was a fantastic week. Yeah. This was the week of the Virkos, we should say.
Yeah.
Because we got, all the Virkos stuff. Hey, look at that shirt, Bill. We got Kritza, we got Anika, we got both Radukars. So basic Radukar and then steroids Radukar. Then we got, as I call her, G-MILF, grandmother I like to field. Belladama Volga, who might just be the best in Soulblight.
Very close to it, yeah.
Yeah. So all that and then of course, your dire wolves.
Dire wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a great week for Virkos. I think I picked up everything but Kritza so far.
Okay.
Kritza will be next on the list.
Yep.
I picked up Lady Anika over him. I don't know, a little bit better aesthetic, I think, when she has the mask arm.
Yeah. She's got that really weird look that is polarizing, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love her or hate her. I picked her up because she's going to have a place in my real army, not the one I talk about today. But it's the aesthetic of this whole army is, I think, polarizing. It's kind of just like you said, Slanesh.
Yeah.
You either really like this new look or it really rubs you the wrong way. So I happen to like it. I think it's cool.
Yeah. I think the two models that come out that really did that to folks, we have Laukavai / Vingorian Lord and Anika, Lady Anika. Those are the two that seem to
polarize.
Yeah, exactly. No one's going to be like, zombies. Unless they're weird. But, like zombies are zombies. Manfred's Manfred.
Yeah.
Nephew's Nephew. Like, Radukar looks great. Belladama looks amazing too.
Oh my gosh.
Fantastic model line, but there's something different and weird about those, which I like. I like that they're going that way.
Yep.
We'll talk a little bit more how Laukavai even became what she is a little bit later, and I find that really interesting.
Oh man.
And then it was an expensive weekend.
It was, and next weekend
just as expensive
is I hate you, GW. I hate you with the power of 10,000 burning suns.
Before we get away from what came out for sale, let's not forget that also the Pariah Nexus models came out for individual sale now. So what is the Chronomancer
and the flayed ones, the plastic flayed ones.
And the heavy intercessors finally.
Yep. And the captain with mastercrafted gear.
The anyone who's playing Deathwatch has been fiending for those heavy intercessors.
Yes.
'Cause now everyone's going to be able to take their 5 heavy intercessors with their 5 eradicators and just go to town on people.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
Yes, and all of you that just screamed bloody murder when Pariah Nexus came out and it was the only way to ever get flayed ones. Yeah, shut up.
I can get them in mass, and flayed ones are okay, but pretty good in Kill Team. I think they're fun in Kill Team. For sure.
Yeah, they are. They are. So that's kind of, does that wrap New Dawn?
I think so.
Very nice. That's a lot of stuff that came out, and it's a caveat emptor. It's buy what you want. Don't go crazy because 3.0 is coming up, and the Dominion box is going to be weird and hot on the heels of that. There's going to be the getting started, the Command, Elite, and Recruit editions of the bar, to get you into it. So prepare.
Yeah, save that money now, folks.
Yeah, it's. Ooh, come on, Biden, let's do another round. I'm kidding. Stop that. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll go into creation because I'll be quick.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
Well, Sauron has spoken, so let's build him an army.
Working on it.
I didn't. You know what I got done in the last literally 3 weeks because we are a week delayed? I built the Warhammer Underworld's warbands, got them primed. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I built some other models. I did build 2 other models, but they have nothing to do with gaming. They're just regular models. So I really need to get a hold of my priorities. Anyway, what'd you do?
I was pretty busy, getting prepared for trial, but
Kinda, yeah.
So I painted 2 of Headcracker's Mad Mob completely.
Nice.
The other 2 I haven't even put paint on yet, and one of them is Headcracker himself, so it's just I'm not quite sure what I want to do on him.
Yeah.
But I got just 2 of those guys done. I did finish Morgoth's Crushes for my wife and got her deck prepped. Then I built the Headcracker's Mad Mob deck.
Nice.
Yesterday I went ape shit, to be honest. I don't know if something just took me, but I built 20 out of the 80 zombies I have.
Nice.
I built Radukar, G-Milf, the Anorexic Ant, and Kynon's Reapers, and then I primed all of them and started painting, or got a test paint done on one of the Kynon's models, which is just one of the little Mortec dudes.
Yeah.
I did not prime the zombies yet. I did build 5 Blood Knights a couple weeks ago when we first got them.
Nice.
I built Laukavai when I first got her. She's primed and ready to go. I've been a little busy.
Just a little bit. Good Lord.
It was, I just get in these spurts, like finally all my work's done, and I'm tired. I don't want to do it. But then yesterday just took over me and I just banged it all out. Those zombies, by the way, fiddly bits. Really? They have a lot of little fiddly bits. Got to be careful. When you're cleaning them, stuff like that, you don't want to accidentally break a branch off or something like that. Or if you don't like the branches, clip them.
Yeah.
But they go together fairly well, right? The boxes are very structured,
nice.
Right? So you have these 3 to 5 bodies. And then you have these, 5 to 6 torso parts, right? And then the heads are mix and match, whatever you want, right?
Thankfully.
But then it's pretty, simple to get them all put together. Once you put one box together, you know what to do for all of them.
Yeah.
So they go together really well. Radikar the Beast, interesting build. The only thing that was a little awkward was trying to make sure his positioning because he's on this like log, right, is just so that his little Virkos guy is actually like getting the blood from him.
Yeah, underneath the blood, yeah.
So it was just a weird little bit there, but G-MILF goes together so well. Like Belladama's a great model, easy to sub-assemble to.
Oh, nice.
So easy.
Nice.
So you can build up the base, it's got that like rock in the tree and all that. So you can build that up. She sits easily right on top of that. In terms of her on the wolf, there are parts of her like cloak and stuff that integrate with the wolf. So I was like, okay, I'll just build all of that. Yeah. So I have her built on her wolf. And then the other wolf that's underneath, he has this little notch where he goes in underneath the tree.
Oh, cool.
But you don't need to glue him in for the support.
You can paint him separate. Nice.
Yeah, so super smooth there. Kainen's Reapers go together really well.
Yeah.
I really like what they're doing. I could talk about that in battle a little bit more. But super smooth build. Like all of them. They just...
The Underworld's models have always been they amaze me with how they go together and hide their own, joint lines, and they're so much fun to build. The Cursed Court, the Crimson Court was just, oh my gosh, so much fun to put together. Easy, love them.
Those are beautiful models too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's about all I did in creation.
Okay. Just generic notes for creation. The Redgrass Games Wet Palette version 2, the Kickstarter is up as we speak. So if you're at all interested in upping your game, or if you live in the Southwest where simply looking at your paint will cause it to dry, you need a wet palette. So don't take it from me. Watch any of the high-end painters. Almost all of them use wet palettes. The ones that don't are pretty much airbrush guys. Mm-hmm. So, I was going to hit one thing. Don't use your metallic paints on a wet palette. It's not good. And if you are going to use a wet palette for metallic paints, you need to get acrylic paper and not that thin parchment paper that we use for, like the Redgrass palette, the Army Painter palette, all those things that come with the super fine onion skin kind of basic stuff. The way metallics work, it'll just fleck out and you'll just be left with a little bit of pigment and some mica flecks that give it the metallic look, and all of the binder and everything will just leach into your sponge underneath. So it's not good. If you're going to do it with a wet palette, metallics, use acrylic paper. There are companies, Masterson sells acrylic paper, and it's super thick and it will not bleed the metallics through. So other than that, let's move on to battle.
Let's do it.
And all the things that go with battle. And I want to start this off. And I want to start it off by saying, all you people that play GW games, you should revel in the fact that you play GW games. Okay. As you know, I've been delving into Star Wars Legion quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's most of the time it's just me and the wife. Sometimes it's me and somebody from one of the other stores. It's fun. I mean, the game is a blast, and there's a whole different way of doing things and a whole different mentality. And it's just a different game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just as fun as any other game. Once you get into it, it's fun. The problem is there's 4 factions in that game. You have the Empire, you have the Rebels, which were first, and then you have the Separatists, and you have the Republic.
Okay.
The clones, basically. And where the meta stands right now, if you play Empire, you can just give up at any competitive event. Just don't go. There's no reason to spend your money. The Empire does not stand a chance in a competitive event. The last 3 Invader League tournaments, these are online tabletop simulator tournaments. That's all we have these days. Uh-huh. The win ratio for Empire is like 20-80.
Oh my God.
And that's against clones alone. In the last 3 Invader Leagues, there have been less than 1 hand's worth of Empire lists, and none of them have made it to the second round.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, they are just that bad. And mostly it's because their shtick is to put this thing called suppression on enemy units, and they deal with suppression really well themselves. Mm-hmm. Suppression is a basic mechanic in the game. And but every other army except the rebels have this. Their basic shtick is they don't care about suppression. It doesn't affect them like it does everyone else. And so they don't care. So the Empire's main thing is to do something that nobody cares about. And yet they're pointed as if they are super powerful in that area.
Yeah.
So it's just, and this has been ever since the Clone Wars boxes came out, this has been an issue. So GW the new GW doesn't leave things that bad for that long. So just be appreciative of the fact that you're a GW hobbyist.
Right.
Because they really are a good company, trust me. I also wanted to touch on the Curse City campaign games that we've been playing.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Oh my God. Okay, so we've been doing a game on Monday nights, and we've been having a blast, and it's been fun. We played our first 3 games, so we actually got to be level 1. We were feeling kind of salty, because we're pretty tough, and we got this game system down, and we know what we're doing, and it was, we're like, yeah, let's try one of these, tougher missions. Yeah, it'll be fun. Oh my God, it was hellish.
Yeah,
it was a nightmare. I'm not going to go too into the nitty gritty of the game, but it was a game where we had to go and we were discovering rooms as we went.
Okay,
and we had to collect the civilians. We had to save the civilians. We had to save 8 of them before the Gravetide caught up with us.
Oh, okay.
And the Gravetide is moving constantly, and it is, if you get bogged down in a room, well, if the Gravetide comes into that tile that you're on, you get pushed to the next tile and you take 2 wounds, which that's 2 activation dice. So yeah. Anyway, we thought we were all bad because we were level 1 and we're tough and yeah, we're gonna get everything. And this thing just nearly, well, put it this way, we started out with 4. We ended up winning the game with the lone dwarf, which is John's character, being the one who won by if he had not have rolled a critical to move on a gambit to move his activation up to the front, because we dealt out the cards and he was going to go last. So he was going to die. And the other 3 of us were already dead. Oh man, it was so thematic. It was so cinematic. Troy was losing his mind. Mm-hmm. He was just literally losing his mind. So was I. It was so much fun. It was ridiculous. And yet it just speaks to that sort of a game system where 3 of us were dead. We were on our last legs, and yet we made it. We won. We survived. Everyone except Anders didn't die permanently.
Ouch.
He's the only one that rolled a 1 out of D12. So, and I had 2 poison. I think I had 2 poison. I had 2 ailments on me. So I had -2 to my die roll. So I was sweating it. I didn't want to roll that thing. I just rolled it and didn't look at them. Oh, it's a 9. I survived. But yeah, Anders picked up the die, rolled it. Boom. 1. Oh. So he's about going through his 8th character now. It's a sad, sad story, but I highly recommend Curse City. I know you can't get it. I know if you're one of those that didn't get it, I shouldn't be so glowing about it, but it really is a very good game.
Yeah, actually, we're actually going to be starting up our group tonight.
Oh, nice.
Or later this afternoon, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be me, my wife, and I don't know who else is going to join. Might be Eric from the shop. Troy will be running it.
Yeah.
So I'll be playing Imelda Braskov.
Nice.
And my wife will be playing Yeltsin Darek. So she finished him up. So I'm looking forward to actually playing this game. Hopefully have such fun experiences as you did.
Oh, I was truly impressed. So why don't you go into Underworld since you're since you are completely all in?
I am sucked in so bad at this point. I'm just looking at the decks, the war bands, how they're made, what's the best one. It's just completely reactivating my competitive card game spirit. As it interacts, of course, with the models. And I have to say, Morgoth's Crush is amazing. They are going to smash your face, right? They're tough. They only have 3 models though.
Yes.
But they'll smash through whatever they hit. Then my personal favorite, was Headcracker's Mad Mob, right? I thought they were goofy. They have some really fun cards. You interact with the primacy token, in ways it's not just oh, I have it.
Yeah.
But also I I can discard it, gain it, inspire, these different things, and have some fun, some movement shenanigans. They can also hit pretty hard, pretty accurately. And then Kanan's Reapers dropped.
Oh my gosh.
And so I honestly didn't look at him too much until yesterday. And as I was going through, like I was like, well, I'm going to need to get the cards, so I'm going to buy the pack anyway and just have them. And then I was going through them like, this is Mollog's, but better.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have your massive beat stick in Kanan.
Yeah.
But then you have a bunch of little tricksy things. First, it looks like Bone Tithe would be hard to gain because you need to get 3 Bone Tithe counters to inspire your units.
Yes.
And aside from Kanan, everyone else is like 3 wounds for Kenta, but 2 wounds, not terribly strong, but they can get better when they inspire.
Mm-hmm.
But they have incredible movement tricks, like of this sort of like lockstep type thing where if someone activates and moves, then you can trigger the reaction, have another Mortec make a move action as long as they end adjacent.
Yeah.
And so you have this army that's built around these types of synergies where you build supports while you've got this, massive axe wielding
beat stick.
Yeah, just coming down the path. You're going to Voltron him, of course, right?
Yeah.
But it's built around having those like support synergies. And they have cards that give your opponents really difficult decisions.
Yes.
Such as either give me 2 Bone Tithe counters or all of my fighters get to re-roll all of their attack dice.
Yes.
Right? Which is, that's a difficult decision.
Either one of those is, I would have to shy away from the tithe counters because, my God, that's 2/3 of the way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But then you have Kanan re-rolling any of his attacks when he comes in and he's got scything on his one and then he just hits like a freight train on the other. But I get it. You don't want him to inspire because then he just flat 4 damage on his axe when he inspires. Otherwise, it's 3. That's still ridiculous.
Yep.
So it's a somewhat complex warband, but I think it's the best one in this season, if you ask me. If I was to be honest, Headcrackers, I love them. Morgox, they hit like a freight train. You got all these other really good ones, right? But based on what they can do, because that game is a lot of movement-oriented, type of plays, I feel like they could run away with it.
I think that game is based on an action economy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at this point, they take advantage of activations the best of any warband right now. I just worry that the Mortec coming in at 2 wounds, they're going to, that 7, it's what, 6 or 7? 6. It's 6 models, right?
Yep.
I think it's going to be whittled down to 3 pretty quick. And so that's not only giving up 3 glory, but it's also going to negate a lot of their the things that make them work, their constant ability to move and double move and move and synergy move. So I don't know. I really have to see them on the table. I can't. I do believe that they have this, even when they are just whittled down to the 2 top guys, the 2 tough ones, I still think they can go toe to toe with just about anybody.
Yeah.
Because of they use activations better than anyone else that I can see right now. And like you say, they have cards that force these horrible choices on the opponent. And a lot of their upgrades are redonkulous.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's because the expectation is they're going to start out with 6 and end up at 2 to 3 very quickly. So it's kind of like Sepulchral Guard, except without the fact that Sepulchral Guard are horrible. They're just not good.
They used to be amazing. With this, I feel like it's the intersection between Mollog and Sepulchral Guard.
Yeah.
You don't have the resurrection piece,
Yeah.
right? But you actually have, like in Mollog, you could try and Voltron some of your, like your Squig or something like that and have them do things. But they're usually just there to snag little objectives, do that kind of thing. I feel like this warband does what they do a little slower because they don't have the fly.
Right.
But they actually can hit.
Yeah.
Right.
They hit like trucks.
The Natterite thing where, if you are next to another Mortec, you get +1 damage to your weapon.
That's huge.
Just by being next to someone. And on top of that, when you roll your attack dice, you get supports.
Yes.
On your defense, you get supports. Like it's amazing what they do and the synergies they have. And I think why I think this is such a good warband is that they're utilizing all the tools.
Yes.
Right. It's not just, I do this one thing. Yeah. I run up and smash your face. Like, no, I'm actually having to position just right to ensure I get, my supports, make sure that I get the glory I need like up front so I can start equipping on Kanan.
Yeah.
And then he comes in and just starts cleaving through anything that's in front of him.
Yes.
Now, he is 6 wounds, so he gives up 2 glory if he's killed, but that's why you need to make sure that your Mortex are protecting him.
Right. I don't think it's I think it'd be a fun army for anybody that's new to the game, but it's also a very nuanced army that to play it well, you're going to have to really know how your cards are working, and they are going to be, their objective game is going to be, you have to be careful selecting your objectives, put it that way, because you don't have the ability to just say, oh, to heck with it, I'm sending these 2 guys after objectives, because they will just die.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a lot of fun. And, what I really like is they're not tied to objective markers for winning. Again, like Sepulchral Guard and like some of the others that are designed to sit on objectives, where now the new meta is objectives go away so quickly.
Yeah, you flip them instantly.
And it's the mechanism just about, there's 2 warbands out there that literally live on destroying objectives or desecrating objectives. So they make your game go away.
Yeah.
And, it's I don't want to say it's fine, because if you really love playing one of those objective army or warbands, you're kind of hosed. But still, I think they're trying to keep it. I don't think it really bothers them that the first 2 warbands from the original Underworlds box set aren't really in the top anymore. I don't think they care. They're constantly refreshing, constantly coming out with new stuff. It's good for sales. Yeah. Let's not forget they're in this to make money, but also it refreshes the meta all the time. Yep. And you don't really have to care that, this war mob is not totally the best anymore, because we're not talking about, a $1,000 army here. We're talking about a $40 box.
Yeah. You
want to get back in the game in a big way? Pick up one of these last 4 or 5 boxes and you're back in the game.
Yep.
You don't have to play, the original Sylvaneth anymore. The new ones are much, much better.
Yeah.
You don't have to play the first Stormcast. They're junk. They're hot garbage. The new ones are actually cool. Yeah. So, I love Underworlds. I'm glad that you're getting into it, and we'll start kicking my ass on a regular basis.
And one thing I have to say, just to kind of touch on your point there, Kynan's Reapers, their starting deck is already good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It doesn't need too many tweaks.
No.
And so out of the box, you're going to have a solid deck to play. And I want to see that continue.
Yeah.
There's definitely big brain plays, and how you build your deck, but have a solid deck that can allow them to compete out of the box.
Yep.
And so I'm hoping that happens for, is it Isheron Soul Reapers? Is that the name of the next one coming out?
Soul Reapers, yeah.
We all want the crab to be amazing,
Otherwise, there's going to be house rules.
No, he's actually like a Moloch. You see, he's got 7 wounds, right? He's got three block for his defense.
Sure.
He only moves 2, but
it's not a big deal though.
Yeah.
Because he does 4 damage on a normal swing.
Yeah.
So, I saw a thing about somebody was presupposing that the Golden Demon this year, the top 3 entries are probably going to be some version of a diorama, including Kragnos and the crab, or, it's going to be something. The crab will probably be on a lot of the Golden Demon, it won't be at all. But I think to get that funny factor and to get that eye pop, you will see that crab in a lot of painting competitions in the near future.
I don't know. Who knows? The Golden Demon might just be the lone crab.
2 of them.
Yeah.
With knives.
Exactly.
Sharks and jets. Oh, my God. So what else do we want to talk about in battle? You know what I'm going to talk about?
What's that?
I picked up Mech Warrior 5.
Oh, my God.
So one of the reasons I didn't get anything painted was the night I set aside to, I was going to actually sit down and paint the Crimson Court. And, Mech Warrior 5 dropped that day. And, that was the end of that. So.
You enjoying it, though?
Yes, to a point. It's an initial release. There are some bugs, especially with the AI, your lance mates. If you don't set them up quite correctly, you have to set their weapon loadouts, and you have to set weapon groups for them. Otherwise, the AI will just alpha strike with everything, and then as everything is on cooldown and you're waiting for your heat to go down, they'll just stand there and wait until they can shoot again. And then they'll start, so there's a couple of issues where the weapon loadout sometimes get cleared when you exit that screen. Everything goes back to weapon slot 1. So you have to play with it, but when it's working, it's a lot of fun. And they put some interesting little decision points in the game. When you take contracts, you can either choose to do salvage or C-bills. So you either just get paid up front and you just get cash, or you can hope that you do really well on the mission and get a lot of salvage. And I think, hot tip here, maybe in the initial parts of the game, go for straight C-bills, because that's more helpful, and chances are you'll spend all the salvage you get repairing your stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just the sad part of it is I realize that my old joystick is no longer up to modern standards. I have a Cytec X52, the programmable joystick set up there, and it's just because the software went to Logitech, and Logitech is probably third in line of the worst programming people, but behind Microsoft and Adobe. I mean, they are truly incompetent with capital INC. They're lousy, and their software is crap. So I am waiting. I ordered up a new set of Thrustmaster gear. Okay. So we'll see when that comes in. It'll make my life a lot easier, because playing with keyboard, by the way, just don't do it. I actually had to plug in my PS4 controller and get it set up, because playing with a keyboard with a Mac, it doesn't work. It's just not there.
No.
So what have you been playing?
So I just recently played and beat Resident Evil 8 Village. Had a lot of fun with that. Now I know, of course, everyone knows the memes with Lady Dimitrescu online. Everyone's got Vamp Mommy on the brain. But the game itself was great. I really liked Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
Because it was sort of, I didn't fully just retcon or reboot Resident Evil. It's not quite clear yet, to me at least, where exactly they're going. But it definitely ties into the main Resident Evil storyline, particularly in number 8 when you read certain documents. But it is a direct sequel from 7 to 8. So you got the character continuity. It's got, great graphics. It's a little bit more action-oriented than 7 was.
Okay.
What I like about Resident Evil games is a combination of action, but also the puzzles, right? And there were some pretty fun little puzzles in this that had some really creepy elements to it. Like there's one where you're in this basement in this house, and you're trying to figure out how to escape back upstairs. Because you come down and you find out some interesting, I'm not going to give any spoilers, right? But you have to do this like complex thing where you have to like pull apart this like mannequin essentially to get different parts, and then go to different parts of the basement in order to use them. Well, at one point, this freakishly large, dead, screaming baby starts chasing you through the hallways. And so you have to figure out places to run and hide and all this stuff. And like the jump scares to me are obvious because I've played so much and seen so much horror.
Sure.
It's like, it's going to jump here. There it is. And I have to run back here and get into this closet and like all these things. But it was really creepy and fun. The game probably, depending on what difficulty you're on normal difficulty is probably going to be about a 9-hour for the first playthrough. But by that time, you're not going to have upgraded all your weapons to max capacity. Yeah. You're not going to have found all the little like things that unlock, trophies. And I think it's fun enough to have multiple playthroughs.
Good.
It's like near the very beginning of the game, you have this instance where you're getting swarmed by what they call the lichens. I'm not going to go too much how the story does it, but some people are affected by the thing that causes the bad stuff, which I'm not going to say what it is. And they turn into more like werewolfish type of guys, which includes this one that has like a giant hammer. And you have this part where you have to like just survive. Like you're running through part of this town and you're being swarmed constantly. And like ammunition is not like it can be scarce.
Sure.
Right. Unless you're playing on the lower difficulties, and you have to make your own ammunition. So you have to learn, when do I fight? When do I run?
Yeah.
And this game is very harsh on you making the wrong decision.
Oh, nice.
Which I love that aspect.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, sure, you have a knife in case you run out of ammo. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, really. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. I've never killed anything with that knife. I've tried. I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep going. And like when I, slash the lichen the 15th time, and I was like, forget this, and just popped him.
Get the gun out. Get that gun out.
Just finish this off real quick. Really creepy story, really beautiful design on a lot of the characters. It was good to see Chris. You actually get to play as Chris at one point, Chris Redfield.
Yeah.
And seeing all the work that went into this in the storyline. And it doesn't close off the storyline in terms of what happens at the end.
Nice.
In fact, it's going to be something's coming down the line, and there's this character that is very significant. I can't wait to see what she's going to do in the next game. And I already said too much.
Uh-oh.
It was so fun. And now maybe I'm getting sucked into the Vamp Mommy thing, because I'm trying to get someone to 3D print me a Lady Dimitrescu that either is small enough to be a normal Vamp Lord, but if I can't find one that is that small, I can use her as a Vingorian Lord.
Sure.
And just because, she's a vampire.
Yeah.
She's got these long claws.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Fits.
she's got a really cool hat.
Okay.
I'm here for it. So if anyone finds any, really good files out there for a 3D printer, like send them my way, please. I really want to see if I can get this done.
Yeah. Oh man, you got me really interested in that game, because I haven't played a lot of I love the movies. I love the franchise. But I have just not really ever gone into the games that much.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's probably because I spend all my time doing other games. Oh, speaking of which, I wanted to toot my own freaking horn. A couple of weeks ago, I dedicated myself. This was probably a month and a half ago. I dedicated myself to cracking the top 10 worldwide in Inquisitor Martyr.
Oh my! Oh, did you do it?
And I finally freaking did it when Sunday at 6 p.m. hit. I got the little bleep and it came up, and I was 10th worldwide, and I was like, finally! I felt so vindicated. Oh my god! And I actually even feel better, because I know like the top, or not the top 5, but probably 5 of those other top 10 people are using the cheat. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm not using the cheat. So I was just like, oh my god! And that was a grind to get in the top 10. I needed. What did I come in with? I think I came in with like 28,000 glory 31,000 glory to crack the top 10. So,
dang, Bill.
Yeah, it was a slog, I got to tell you, but yeah, I did it. I even got a screenshot because I'm so vain. But yeah, that was my claim to fame. So some weird 57-year-old dude is trying to get in the top 10. Oh well. Hey, we're all kids at heart, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll jump into the lore, because we got to cover what we know about AoS 3, and then we got to do Soulblight, which is kind of a big deal.
Just a little.
Yeah.
A little big.
Yeah. Let's take a break real quick.
Stormcast are cool.
How else do we introduce AoS 3.0?
I don't know of a better way.
Okay. Oh, Lord. So yesterday's preview was 99.9% AoS 3.0. Showing the box. Adam did the opening of the box. They did the initial preview trailer for AoS 3.0. And I saw this great comment about, if that's the level that the animation studio is going to put out, holy crap, Warhammer Plus is going to just take off.
Agreed.
I mean, that initial video was to die for.
Yeah, I've watched it a couple times since too. It's just so beautiful.
It almost rekindles that Stormcast in me that wants to play Stormcast, except for my bias against them. It's it really is. It's nothing more than the new models are beautiful. It just they didn't work for Sigmar. So, what are you gonna do?
I mean, I can generally agree. I think that I'm at least gonna try them out with that half of the box.
Yeah,
just to see how they play, if I like them.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the models already, so I'll have fun painting them, putting them together probably. And, ultimately, if it's just not my play style, it isn't. But I'm more than 95% sure I'm going to play the Cruel Boys.
Yeah, whistling through my teeth again. Wow. Okay. Us old people. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah, the Cruel Boys look amazing, and I definitely want to give them a try. But I hate to say it, but I'm almost more intrigued by the new Stormcast.
Oh yeah,
to see where they fit in that Stormcast spectrum, and if they're going to bring it to a place that, because the original Stormcasts were a play style that I kind of liked.
Okay,
you had very defined units. Liberators did this, Judicators did that. Nobody crossed the lines. Nobody tried to be good at everything. And then you kind of got the new, that new Stormhost chamber, whatever the hell opened, and the lines got blurry. And then another one opened and the lines got blurrier as to who was better. And it just became an army that I just couldn't even wrap my head around. Yeah. Now it seems like they're going back to the very defined, hey, these are the new paladins and they are beat sticks.
Yep.
Stay out of their way. These are the new liberators. They are very tough. They are going to do what you expect them to do. And then there's this big old catapult bolt thrower thing. And, it's, and let's not forget that what's her name?
Andrasta?
Andrasta. Thank you. She's no slouch.
Yeah, definitely not.
They are intriguing.
They are. Well, one of the things I think they talked about on the stream yesterday was with the Annihilators, the new paladins, right? When they come down, they cause mortal wounds. Like they do what you would want them to do.
Think they do. Yeah, and it's like I think they have finally embraced it. And if they want to deprecate that original box or that entire original set and say, "Yep, those are old Space Marines. We're not making them anymore," I'm fine with that. Nobody wants them. There's just no good place for them anymore. Let's move on. And yeah, so like I said, I'm intrigued by both sides.
Oh yeah.
I can just imagine what Kragnos and the Swampy Boys are going to do together.
There's got to be something there, man. I mean, so we talked a little bit about this. It's just we've seen Kragnos War Scroll. We've seen what he does. I mean, they showed that on Warhammer Community.
Yeah.
He currently doesn't have synergy with the rest of Destruction, other than being a destruction god.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just going to go out and say right now he's hot garbage.
As written right now, I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, he does what he does.
Yeah.
Like when you say, I'm going to point him at that monster and win, he will do that
thing.
Thing.
Yes, without a doubt.
But he doesn't currently interact in a significant way.
Yeah.
And so what I'm hoping with the Cruel Boys, and they talked about this on the stream, is that their shields are like an homage to Kragnos.
To him, yeah.
And so, as we talked about, before the show, I was hoping what happens is that Kragnos is his own thing. And then, according to the book, for the army, because the Cruel Boys apparently getting their own book.
Yeah.
They get some massive benefit to Kragnos being in the army.
There. Yeah.
Right. Like it does something to make them, I don't know, fight harder, move faster, be more brave other than his bravery aura. Like those things, I want to see it baked into the book. And I actually think that would satisfy me in terms of what's his use.
Yeah.
But also it fits narratively because Kragnos isn't walking out like, I'm your leader. I'm here to benefit you.
Flock to me, all you orcs and ogres and everybody else. Flock to me. He doesn't seem like that kind of a guy.
No. He just walks out and he's like, well, I'm going to start stomping on stuff.
Yeah, and he goes by the typical destruction idea of if you can't beat me, you're not the god of destruction.
Yeah.
I am. And until you can, Gordrak, stop. You're not me.
Yeah.
So, and I can kind of understand why he doesn't have a synergy or even a keyword that puts him or makes him a good fit in any other army, because that might be something coming down the pike.
Yeah.
And, all of our AOS 3.0 coverage, and I've alluded to this before, it's kind of like reviewing a book without being able to read it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't say specifically why he's good or bad until we know what he's going to do in the new rules, or maybe even in the Kragnos book. He might have a second section of rules that says, if you plunk him in Iron Jaws, he does this. If you plunk him in Ogre Maw Tribes, he does this. So we just don't know that yet. But as he stands right now, he doesn't bring anything to any army. And at his point cost, he's just going to ask you to sacrifice too much other stuff for something that does what all of Destruction does, which is move forward and beat stuff.
Yeah.
So, I am looking forward to him a lot. I just hope that, when all the dust settles, that there's a lot of synergy, that he ends up with some synergy with Destruction units more than he has now.
What I really think is we have a lot of, and we'll talk about it in Soulblight too. There's a lot of questions about what's in store in AOS 3 and how things are going to be worked and manipulated.
Yes.
Like Kragnos gets the account as general, right? Yeah. If he's in Destruction. So there's a lot of things that are there that, at first glance, you're like, all right, cool. This is going to do something, but it doesn't do it in my book.
Yeah. It hints at what might come.
Yeah.
But we don't know. And yeah, he's a general in your army in addition to whatever other general you have. And that seems to be a very growing thing of having multiple generals. We've seen it in the last 3 books.
Yep.
So, okay, I'm totally good. I'm totally good. I like the Cruel Boys. I really like the Stormcast. I'm really going to buy this box. I'm hoping to God it's not Indominus 2.0. Let's leave that right there until we have something. But then they did a video, which I thought was kind of funny. And somehow or another, Nick Baton always gets picked for these, where he gets to have the interaction with Sigmar, which sounded creepily like James Workshop, but with a little bit of reverb. So, and they talked about the 8 things for AOS 3.0. Now, I noticed that within about 40 minutes of the end of the stream, there was like half a dozen videos on YouTube covering those 8 points. And I was just like, wow, guys, do you have this stuff in the can or what? Anyway, it's going to be overdone to death, but here's our hot take. So 8 things. Number 1, best rule set ever. So hopefully they just took all of these rules that are spread out throughout some different erratas and some different facts and just pull them all into the main rule book. And one thing I kind of saw in the video was it looked to me like the rules were numbered. I saw like a 2.14, and hopefully it'll make it so much easier to reference if the rules are numbered. Right now, I kind of, I love the free form of the core rule book, but there's no way to say, if you just look at section 3.7, you'll see exactly where that rule is. You have to say, well, I think it's on page 30. Oh, you have the big book, so it's on page 69. Oh, you have the little small format book. Well, then it's on page 40. Yeah, I hate that. So at least this way, if the rules are numbered and everything's codified, then we can go, no, according to rule 2.14, you cannot take a battle shock test after blah, 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 whatever.
Well, it's making the lawyer in me very happy. Being able to refer to specific, statutes and things like that is how we do it.
Yes.
And so the fact that I could just, oh, no, we have to go to this rule first. And this rule cross-references this rule.
And
yeah, here, let me write you a memo on it real quick.
I think in the earliest inception of AOS, where they said they had a 4-page limit, I think to me, that is the dumbest thing to limit in a new rule set is the page count.
Yep.
Because if you have to make it needlessly vague at that point in order to hit your 4-page limit, what was the gain? What did you literally gain by doing that? Yeah. And it wasn't production costs, because you know what? Books are written in signatures, and those are usually 12 to 16 pages. So please don't tell me it was this or that. It was not. It was an arbitrary limit you made to simplify things. But when you oversimplify a competitive game, oops. So they've been fixing it as we go, and a numbered rule set would be great. Thank you. Next up was they said heroes are more heroic. There will be more command points and abilities and heroic actions. So I'm thinking maybe they're bringing heroic intervention from 40K to AoS. You think that might be one of them?
I don't know. That'd be really interesting, wouldn't it? Sorry, I'm just musing over that.
It would be a huge and tremendous change to the game. And I don't think if you are good at heroic intervention in 40K, you are operating on a different level from somebody that just doesn't think about that kind of placement. And it can become, the way heroes are in AoS right now, that could become a very huge factor in how games are decided.
Yes. The reason why I was just taking a moment to really think about it is like, we're already in the pylon wars, where you have these multiple types of units that can pile in 6 inches, and so throwing that on like heroes as well.
Yep.
Like, what is the charge phase even? Like, there are going to be some units that have to charge because they don't have the crazy pylon shenanigans, but then you have these multitude of other units in a lot of pretty good armies. I mean, Lumineth, you have it, with zombies and Soulblight, where if you can set that up just right, I mean, the charge phase almost doesn't matter sometimes,
I think this is sort of a way of interjecting some more life into the charge phase, because you're right. The pylon shenanigans and the placement, this is not a hot take, but movement is the key to almost all of these skirmish or, miniatures games.
Oh, yeah.
If you position yourself well, you can weather just about anything, especially when you have to consider the double turn mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
So you can win or lose based on how you position. And I know I'm lousy at it. So, but if you add, just this idea of having more command points, and the way they talked about how there's going to be more reactive command abilities.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to, like they said, lessen the downtime, but also make combat more fluid, which is a good thing.
I agree. I'm hoping for some things like, in terms of reactive command abilities, like, if you receive a charge, you command them to stand firm or something, so I don't know if the people also want to say, exactly, right. Oh my goodness, that'd be amazing for things like, the Hobgrot Slittas and stuff.
Retreat and fire.
Yeah. To be able to just like dip out. Nope. I mean, the Skinks had that. That was powerful as crap, right? Like, that's such a great ability. But to also have other things too, like, if you successfully complete a charge, maybe there's, a reactive command ability, which is just like almost like an all-out attack at that point. It's like, 6s are +1 damage or something. Something like that would be really, really fun.
Yep. They can go a lot of places, and anything that lessens the downtime, that makes it more interactive. One of the things I will say is, one of the great things about games like Legion and some of these other miniatures games is that they don't have that mechanic of I go, you go. Mm-hmm. It's completely interactive. You look at Bolt Action, you put all the forces into a dice bag, and when you pull out an order die, it might be mine, it might be yours, but that unit goes. Mm-hmm. And it leads to a more swirling, a much more cinematic sort of fight activation stuff. The Games Workshop games are built around that I go, you go, but by having these abilities to interrupt and all that stuff, we can almost simulate that idea of, wait, I'm interrupting to do this. So I love that. And maybe you can stick maybe you can take a unit, one of those reactive abilities is I declare a charge, you say, hold on, and I move my unit of junk in front of your unit that's charging, and now all of a sudden your plan is crap. So I'm digging it. Next up.
Looking at monsters here. So apparently monsters are going to get a little bit more freaky, right?
Yeah.
This is something that needs to happen. I was thinking about it the same way I think about like Titans and Knights in 40K. Mm-hmm. When you have these things that are supposed to be this monstrous, this huge, I want there to be more things that happen. Like giants, for example, right?
Yeah.
I should be able to just like walk over your unit.
Yes.
And when I do that, I step on things.
Yes. And there should be casualties involved.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not just impact hits. Like if this giant charged, some of this mega gargant charged something and smashed into it, what if it's like a bunch of little stabbas or something like that? It should be obliterated.
Yes.
Right? We need more oomph.
Yep.
And I'm excited to see what happens with that.
Yeah, because currently right now the monster keyword just pretty much guarantees that you're going to die in combat.
Yep.
It does not help you in any way, and there are so many abilities that are like, but if it's a monster, you do X more. And so taking a monster right now is disincentivized. Let's turn that around.
Mm-hmm.
And they did.
Particularly because I think you're musing with an Evangori list, aren't you?
Yeah, it's slightly.
Then the bonuses for going second, getting more CP.
Yep.
I don't want CP to be like it is in 40K. I like it where it's somewhat limited, and you gain it, right, as things move forward. And this is a great thing to do where it makes you have to make really important decisions.
Yep.
Right. Well, I want to go second, not just because I might get the double turn, but because I need this CP. But then, is that going to be enough to help you weather an alpha strike?
Yeah.
And so there's real decisions that need to be made by including that.
Yeah. To me, I would say if they started turning on a faucet of command points, and because they talk about how it's going to be, you're going to have reactive command abilities and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other thing. And some of these other things might also interact with command points. I would say turn on a faucet and have command points flow freely to where you can build up 6, 8, 10 in a turn. However, the end of your battle shock phase, you revert back to 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So that you're not carrying this thing over, and then in a certain turn, you just have 30 command points and you're just going to literally dominate anything you come across. So it could be something like, I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I don't care. I'm sure it will probably work, and there will probably be people that crack the code right away, and there'll be people like me who are like, oh, wow, that's cool. I didn't know you could do that. So, yeah.
This game, I just want to make sure I get my stand strong ability off.
Yeah, more learning. I love it. So the fifth of the 8 is no downtime. So reactive command abilities. I think anything that allows you to basically have a lot more back and forth is a good thing, although it's going to completely mess up the chess clock crowd. Because reactive command abilities, things like that, when you're swapping back and forth, it's going to make timing almost impossible. And so, hopefully by doing this, we just increase the speed of the game anyway. So, yay, go for it. I like it.
Well, one thing, I think it was confirmed is that the board size is getting smaller.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so that's super important for this concept. Because it's the same thing they're doing in 40K. Like, we need to speed up these games, right? And by, smaller board, right? No downtime, very active. I think things are going to punch harder.
Yep.
Things might be able to defend a little bit better, right? But certainly the goal is, to try and make it so the game actually progresses. It's not just a stalemate the entire time, unless you're playing, Legions of Blood versus Nurgle. But
yeah, exactly. That could be tough.
But and I think the reactive command stuff reminds me of when I would play like Magic, right? And the stack is something that you manipulate. So someone casts a spell. Okay, well then I'll react with this. Okay. Oh, once that resolves, but before this resolves, then I'm going to play this and then react that way.
Yep.
I hope it's not that complicated because that's just a card game. We're dealing with models here, but to have that sort of little bit of a back and forth, so it's not just you charge and I sit here and wait until it's my turn to activate one of mine. Like, it's actually like, no, I can proactively say, all right, this one that you're charging, if they're going to like do a stand strong thing, they do it there. Yeah. Right. But because, the charge did occur, that does allow me to react over here. And so this is going to be all out attack. And so then they have a decision. Am I going to fight the charged unit first? Am I going to try and get those guys? I want that.
Yes.
Right.
I want opportunity fire when you move.
Yeah.
I want to be able to shoot you as you're moving. Little things like that. I hope. Who knows? I like it.
It seems like you didn't quite get your hope about Magic being nerfed.
Nope, not at all. In fact, I think they went full scale the other way. More predatory on those spells. Now they act in both phases. Oh, God. Really? I thought the Necroquake was over. I thought all that stuff was going away.
Well, the Necroquake spawned them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that when the Necroquake goes away, they go away.
I understand endless spells. I know there's a lot of fun and they have a lot of models out there, so they can't make them go away. I just think that's a dead mechanic. I really think it's a way of fixing omissions in factions, and it's like the cop-out way of fixing them. And what you end up with is more interactions than you expected. And you have things like Nagash with the spell portal is amazingly tough to work with. Croak with a spell portal is going to be amazing. So, you know, whatever. I'll look at it and see. I just wish they had made, you know, a failure of magic. You know, give me Perils of the Warp.
Yeah.
You know, just something like that where this freewheeling casting is just, I can cast all day long and suffer nothing for it. Absolutely nothing. So,
yeah, I mean, I could see how they could do something like unmodified roll of 2.
Yeah.
On 2 dice causes you to take D3 mortal wounds.
Something.
You know?
Just make it to where there's something that means magic. There's a chance of something bad happening instead of it's just a bonus for those that have it and a serious limitation for those that don't. And I'm looking at you, Iron Jaws. So,
oh, the poor Iron Jaws.
Next up, they talked a little bit more about core battalions and once again gave us absolutely nothing to work with on it.
Yep.
So we know they're out there. We know they'll probably be a new, easy way to build your army, blah, 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 blah. Maybe they'll fix Azir. Maybe they'll fix the app. Maybe you'll be able to read a book without breathing on your iPad and having it close.
Oh, God.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's unfortunately been my situation. I didn't pick up the Soulblight book yet. I just got it on my phone because I was going out of town. I want other people at the shop to be able to get their book.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't pre-order it, but so I've been trying to read it, you know, and like
in Azir.
You know, like I'm just trying to swipe to go to the next page, and then it closes the book. Like open the book back up, zoom in, start, you know, going down as I'm reading the paragraphs. Closes the book. Oh my God.
It's the most maddening thing, and I can't for the life of me understand why it hasn't been fixed yet. It's oh God, you know, call out to a third party reader if you have to, but good Lord, that thing sucks. But core battalions are going to be, I think they're going to be a big help to those, like Ben said, to the have-nots, to the ones that, to the factions and the armies that don't potentially have access. You know, like I was trying to put together in Soulblight, and I don't mind going because we're going there here shortly. I was trying to put together a battalion for my Avangori list, and there's no Avangori battalion. There's nothing that really works well for them. I tried to use the Red Banquet, and it just didn't make me happy. It wasn't there. So quite potentially that means there's a core battalion that will fit into their niche. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Monstrous General, 1 to 3 monsters.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Exactly. Something that just plays against their theme and gives you the extra command point and the extra thing for your mount, mutation for your mount. So yeah, I'm all over it.
And the 8th point, you're pretty excited about this one, weren't you, Bill?
Oh my God. Yes. So they're going to revamp. They have to revamp the Path to Glory stuff. And I just hope they go down the Crusade path from 40K, because Crusade is a very, very well thought out, well done. Whereas Path to Glory is, yeah, okay. So just port Crusade over and make it work with this stuff. And I'll be super happy.
Yeah, you know, with all the Anvil Apotheosis, we'll talk about the Anvil of Blood here when we get into a little bit more on Soulblight. There's a lot of great creative design space for people who want to have a full actual narrative, right?
Yep.
Being able to customize your own heroes and in ways, right? Particularly like we'll see with Anvil of Blood, getting options you would not normally have, right? So for example, just to kind of, you know, go into the Anvil of Blood just a little bit, you can actually construct a necromancer on top of some gargantuan beast and give it fly. So you imagine like a necromancer on top of, I don't know, a necrosphinx if you have that old model, right?
Wow.
How cool would that look?
God, that would be great.
Or on top of a zombie dragon, or on top of a terrorgeist. You know, you get to model it how you want, you know? And so not only is it creative design space in terms of I'm making this character and it has, you know, these mechanics, but look how I kit bash this guy.
Yes.
Right? And you can actually tell a story through that process.
Yep.
Right? If they can bring that in and drive that home, oh my God.
It's going to be a surefire hit.
Yep.
And it works on so many levels, and even it works on the marketing level, because like you said, if I make a necromancer who is, potentially riding a direwolf or riding, I have to buy that kit, and I have to buy that kit, and I have to buy this kit for the legs. And before I know it, I've dropped $150 to make one character. And so that makes everyone happy. GW's happy. I'm happy. It's a win-win-win-win-win when you have a good narrative system to play inside the game.
Yep.
So hear me now, believe me later. So, and that's kind of the core rules for AoS. And unlike some others, we're not going to expound on more and more and more of what we think, because we've beaten that horse to death. So we will wait. I would imagine the end of June, Dominion will be out, and so the rules will be out, and we'll get to really see. I'm sure we'll start to see leaks coming from GW. Leaks. They're not leaks, they're announcements.
Yeah.
But they'll put them on the Warhammer community site, and they'll give us a drip feed to get us excited, and then we'll hate them, and then they'll deliver Dominion, and we'll all have the stuff. So at which point we will go, yay.
Yeah.
And really the timing, I hate this for them, because the timing for the 40K release was the worst in the history of humankind. I mean, to have an entire planet basically locked in a house when you're releasing a flagship game, that was so hard. Whereas AoS is going to come out just as things are starting, at least in the United States, are starting to open up.
Yep.
Bug Eater GT is next weekend. We're starting to see events. GW themselves has announced events in the United States. So
Yes, sir.
AoS, I told when I put up the pack for the AoS narrative at LVO, speaking of which, tickets are going on sale soon. When, by the time we get to LVO, I told everybody in the pack, I really can't expand a lot on what the rules are going to be because I don't know them, but we are going to use AoS 3.0. Yep. There is no doubt it will be 3.0, but stay tuned for revisions to the narrative pack. So, yeah. But shall we move into Soulblight?
Oh, yes, please.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
So I guess that means we're about to hit the Soulblight, right?
I think so, man.
Wow.
So I'm excited.
Okay. So do you want to open up the book first, or do you want to go and just do our initial reactions and what? Let's kind of give an overview of what we think of the book first before we dive into it.
Yeah. So my initial reaction after, going through everything, just my first pass through, what do I think? I think it's a fun army. I think there's some great units in there. I think that there are some real garbage units in there, a whole bunch of horrible spells, some good ones. And all in all, I think it's going to be right in the, the middle ground, right? I think it's got some good plays. Yes. I think it's got, board presence. I think there's some fun builds. There's some really bad builds too.
Yeah.
All in all, like mid-range army, middle of the pack.
Yeah, I think they're incredibly average. I think, like you say, they're going to hit that fat middle right off the bat. I am hesitant to call a grade on the book until we know what AoS 3.0 looks like, because it's reasonably obvious this book was written with 3.0 in mind. I mentioned before, there's no battalion for like the Avangori.
Yeah.
Which probably means they're covered by a core battalion. There's probably a mechanism in that book that makes that work. So it's kind of hard to come out and say, this book is so awesome, it's ridiculous, or, it's so bad, because we don't really know how it's going to play 2 months from now. We know what it plays like today.
Yeah.
And it's super average, which honestly, for me, is really, really good, because Legions of Nagash was very middle of the road. It offered a lot, but it took away a lot, and it gave you not all that many different ways to play. I think this book is like some of the recent books. it sits there and it gives you this framework, and then you can pull in the pieces that you like to play. If you want to do an all wolf army, boom, here you go. If you want all skeleton, all death rattle all the time, there's a build in here. If you want nothing but big monsters, there's a build for that. So I'm impressed, and I bet you anything, dimes to dollars, if you will, that when we see AOS 3.0, this book will actually get a very solid middle of the pack. I'm not saying C, I'm saying it'll be in that fat middle where it will be competitive with just about everything out there except for its hard counters. Which honestly right now I don't see a lot of armies out there that just turn off this army.
I think the armies that could, like talking Seraphon in particular, because the spellcasting isn't very great in Soulblight, but it's not your only trick. In fact, this army is heavily focused in melee combat.
Yes.
And I think that and we'll get to more when we talk about like what's really good about it, but the battle line choices are almost all solid. You know, they're going to serve a particular role, and they have such great flexibility in terms of what they can do. You know, some are just going to be chaff that gets, blown off the table. And then you're going to have this miracle zombie pack that, starts at 40 and next, it's like 70. I think it's got some problems with shooting phases. It doesn't have its own shooting phase. No. Except for, when you have dragons screaming and stuff like that. But it does have ways to deal with the shooting phase. That I think are really good. All in all, just very, very average, which I think is good. I think most books should be moving towards what this is.
Yes.
Like, I'm not saying it's 100% exactly what I'm looking for in terms of a book that's just balanced, but it's almost there.
Yeah. Yep. It's a super good, internally balanced. I think there's nothing that stands out and says, this is the list from this book, play it or lose. So I truly like that. And of course, there's a lot to be said for having one of the most evocative covers of any book. I mean, I think the only other one that stood out more than this book was the old Daughters of Cain book with the half-naked chick on the front. That at a time when they were trying to downplay all of that, here comes this pinup, on the front of and it just made you look at it and go, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, at a time when you're trying to get mom, dad, and little Johnny and little Sally into the store, you have that as your really? Okay. And so I'm glad to see that went by the wayside. So anyway, so now let's jump into, the book starts out with what I think we both agreed was a reasonably light lore section.
Yeah.
So they open up with, the general overview of the Soulblight grave lords and how, everything here is Nagash and everything comes from Nagash, and how this is primarily focused on vampires.
Yeah.
They are the dynasties. They are the progenitors of the bloodlines. And so, from the very start, this book is focused on vamps.
Yep.
Which is good. It covers some of the basic characteristics of vampires, which, we all know from folklore, and no, they don't sparkle. It's not that folklore, because that's just nothing. Oh, God. Most of the vampires are deeply charismatic. Mm-hmm. Some of them are quite noble. Those are, I guess, the exceptions, but they're all what you think of when you think of a strong vampire character type thing. And again, not all of them are evil.
Yeah.
Except for all of them. I'm sorry. Let me see. I drink the blood of other people to, I guess, in some ways that doesn't have to be evil.
Well, we'll get to Lauka, but she's probably the only one that has a sense of true nobility to her.
Yeah.
Given how she operates. But let's get to her when we get to her.
So then they kind of hit on the idea of what is Nagash to the Soulblight Grave Lords, and it comes flat out like what they're trying to attempt in every other, like in the Osiark Bone Reapers, in the Night Haunt. Some of the folks in it absolutely venerate Nagash as a god. Some of them just simply tolerate him. Some of them absolutely hate him, but they all serve Nagash.
Yeah.
It's just a thing. And they sort of spoil their own books by talking about how with Nagash being basically a ball of pulp curled up in a fetal position in one of his strongholds somewhere, the vampires actually, they're not rushing out to help.
Yeah.
Because I guess they haven't been called to help.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't see any reason to stop doing the conquest that they're doing. They don't see any reason to, let's pull back and wait, because they're seeing an opportunity here to fill a void, to grab some of that power vacuum. So then we go back in history and we find out that in the mortal realms, Nagash is the one, when he came alive in the mortal realms, there were no vampires. So he basically pulled the souls of Manfred, Neferata, and Ushoran from the underworlds and reformed them into whole beings. It's just so... It's, of course, Manfred, the clown shoe vampire, Neferata, the first vampire, so the progenitor of the species, if you will, and then Ushoran, who, he's his own thing. He goes mad and runs off and forms the Flesh Eater Courts, which is a really great tie-in to the lore, like you said, in Flesh Eater Courts. Yeah, I thought it's a nice little way of backing it up, and it was also, if you ask me, it was a great way to write Arcan out of the story. Yeah. Because they talk about Manfred and Neferata, and that other Mortarch, who's now dead, is like, yeah, he's my handmaid. Yeah. Kind of goes into the fact that all the lineages trace back to Manfred or Neferata. Yes. And then you can have the dynasties underneath them, and they, there's a little passage in there about with the thousands and thousands of years that have passed, some of these bloodlines actually stand on their own, and they don't even pay any homage to Manfred or Neferata. They stand alone. Yes. But eventually they all filter up to those two.
Except for the Virkos, right?
Yes.
The Virkos are actually in the lore, supposedly from a god beast, right? And they also have a really distinct identity as well, because they're the only vampires that display wolf-like tendencies as well as appendages. I think that's just, very apparent with Belladama and Radikar the Beast, where their feet actually look like wolven feet. Yeah. And they have, just this affinity with, that with wolves, generally speaking. So it separates them because it's unlike anything you've seen. It, when Soulblight was coming out, my thoughts were like, I wonder if they're ever going to do werewolves. Yeah. Right. And they obviously didn't do werewolves in the strict sense of what a werewolf is, but gave a wolf-like tint to the vampires with the Virkos dynasty, which is, with them and the Avangori, they're like the two standouts in Soulblight because they are the actual additions to any of the vampire ranges, which, of course, I think the supplant one, the Legion of Sacrament's not in here anymore. Right. But we already had, Legion of Night, Legion of Blood, Castellet Dynasty. Yeah. Right. Those were already established. And so you bring in this new stuff and you get to do the new models with them, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, me too. And it actually, in reading through this, it kept occurring to me that someone at GW is a big fan of the Underworld series. Yes. Because they've captured that whole vampires and werewolves are separate but distinct. Mm-hmm. And there's a real gray line about the origin of both species and how they might very well be tied into the same sort of progenitor. Yeah. And how they actually have very similar goals, and that they're much stronger when they work together. Yes. Than when they try to fight each other. So I kind of like that. And I really do want to go all in on a werewolf army. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of play there, and we're going to talk about that, as we go on in the book. There's no wrong way to play it. Yeah. So the biggest new addition, if you will, and changes to how, from Legions of Nagash and from the old world to this one is we bust out into Legion of Blood, Legion of Night, obviously Manfred and Neferata. Manfred with the Legion of Night and the Legion of Blood under Neferata. Of course, the Legion of Night is all about martial prowess, in your face, beat you down. I am here to just mess you up. And Manfred is a hell of a big, good general. He gonna do stuff. And meanwhile, Neferata is more in charge of the subterfuge, the spying. The Legion of Blood is more towards Trixie and this, that, and the other thing. And then directly underneath them are the 3 dynasties. So, and I always get the names wrong. So Castelli are basically the blood dragons of old. That's Prince Vordry. So the Avangori is underneath Lucavi. And then the other one, Castelli, and he leads the...
oh, you went over Castelli?
I said that one.
Virkos.
Virkos.
Yeah.
Because we just spent 5 minutes talking about them, and I forgot who they were. Okay, so, I mean, that's kind of... The lore is enough to give you all the background and to set the stage for how the army works, and it also leaves a lot out so that you can develop your own.
Yep.
You know, it does not close any doors and say, if you're not from this, you can't play. So it's a good lore section. It's just not a very deep lore section.
Yeah, I appreciate what it did. I mean, Legions of Nagash, that was the end of first edition, right? And in a way, it was, hearkening what was coming in 2.0, and I think they're just using that as a checkpoint, But Nagash is, curled up in a fetal position somewhere, and you have these otherwise strong vampire lords. Like if Nagash hadn't been there, they'd be some of the strongest, undead there are. So, they do have a power vacuum to fill, right? And they're going to keep doing as they do. They just don't have, this inconvenience who every now and then, because they happen to be, part of the Death Grand Alliance. So they're just like, he calls them to go do something. It's like, oh no, we get to, work on our own, and achieve our goals,
our
right?
ambitions. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like the little things that pop out of just the background stuff is, what's Manfred been up to? He's been conquering a lot of Shyish. He's been taking Neferata's holdings, trying to subvert some of her, generals and lieutenants and stuff. There's a fun little...
If she's going to start messing with them, he's going to take them back. Yeah.
Yeah. This little like tete-a-tete they had, and that was a fun little read. Then Prince Vordry, I mean, such a tragic character in a way,
Oh my gosh.
Just his being bound, to the keep, the Crimson Keep.
Yep.
And now that Nagash is gone, like it doesn't say he's going to, but he has this sort of idea like, maybe I can finally get away.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of hope so, because of all of them, he's my favorite.
Yeah.
Truly my favorite. And it was kind of what I was after. My first real Age of Sigmar army, the first thing I took to the tournament at LVO was basically a Soulblight army. It was Terrorgeist and zombies, and hell, I played on the stream with it. It was the first streamer ever. That was so cool. It was the first American stream game, and it was the worst game ever. So hopefully they've taken it off the Twitch channel. I slow played Elric pretty bad. I mean, I've never admitted that, but yeah, I just was so nervous, and I was so like, holy crap. And I was trying to get the win, which I ended up getting. So, but it was sad. But anyway, this has been my first love, and Vordry's always been my guy.
Yeah.
So
for me, one, I think in terms of playing the game and what might be more towards the competitive side of things, I think Virkos is going to be there. But in terms of character, we actually got to see what happened with Laukavai. Why is she the way she is, right? It seems so strange that you would have, this vampire monster thing. So her lore was really cool. So she actually, she kind of thought it was wrong to just go feast on people. And so, her and her knights would go and they would slay these great monsters, right? Because the idea is, why are you feasting on something weaker than yourself, right? If you are a true warrior, you are going to try and take down the stronger opponent in order to be better. It's about martial prowess. And so that's how she would hunt. Well, she unfortunately got into it with a Tzeentch sorcerer. and got knocked into this pool of like chaos energy, right? And when she steps out, well, her lower half is now this monstrous thing. And it just almost broke her.
Yeah.
Right? Because she just couldn't handle the fact that she was no longer the noble knight that she was. Particularly because after, becoming part beast, is she started to feel that bestial instinct.
She got a little feral, yeah.
Yeah. And it gets hard for her sometimes to be able to fight against it, which is memorialized on her war scroll. Same thing with the Vengorian lords. But she, went off, and lived on her own, still hunted, strong beasts. Then the Vengorians, sought her out, after learning about it. And so she comes to the Vengorian lords. I think they said, she's trying to sort of bring back that sense of nobility to it, though it gets harder and harder for her to fight back against the beast inside.
Yeah, it's, again, tragic story, but I love her to death.
Yeah.
She is one of the few truly noble vampires. Even, you have to take the word noble with a grain of salt. Within that world, she is probably one of the most upstanding and has a moral code.
Mm-hmm.
I like her. And that model, the more I look at it, the more I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm good with that.
Yes.
I'm not going to make a cape to cover it. I don't think I need to.
No.
The more I've really looked at it, I'm like, yeah, I'm good with that. And now that, you've actually seen the lore, it does make a lot of sense. She only went waist deep into the pool.
Yeah.
And, okay. All right. I get it. Now I'm good.
Yep.
So, yeah, I like her. I like her a lot.
Yeah, great character, great design. When I put her together, I thought she was a fun build. Not the best for subassembly. It's complicated if you want to subassemble her.
Yeah.
But I personally just built her and then made it so I can take her head off. Otherwise, I mean, the detail's amazing. She's so pretty. And I really feel like they captured her story in her, because she does have this sort of regality to her that seems so strange when you've got the contrast to the beast.
Yep.
And now that we see the story officially, like, okay, I get it now.
Yep. Even her head pose is she's a lot more contemplative than some of the other vampires who look like they're about to spring into the attack, whereas she looks like she's just basically thinking it through, figuring it out. So, yeah, I love it. So that's kind of the lore section. Let's jump into the rules. And I think the first thing, this is just me, we should probably cover is the allegiance abilities and the changes from Legions of Nagash.
Okay.
There is a tremendously huge change here in the way you use grave sites.
Yes.
They have changed probably more than anything else. So you still get 4, 2 of which you set up inside your territory, 2 of which you set up anywhere. And note to future self, as well as note to players, where you put your grave sites is tremendously important.
Yes.
You win or lose based on where you put those grave sites, unless you play Virkos. But honestly, the positioning of those, you have to look at where the objectives are. You have to know what your 9 and 12-inch bubbles from that gravesite are, because they are key, because you have lost the ability to heal and revive nearby models from gravesites. That's gone. Completely gone. In return for that, they have 2 amazing abilities. Units that deep strike out of the gravesites. You don't need a nearby hero anymore like you did previously. You can deploy wholly within 12 inches of the gravesite, of course, more than 9 away from enemy units. So that in and of itself is huge. That 12-inch as opposed to the 6 is huge. I love it. I love it. I love it. So when you think about where your gravesites are, where your heroes are, there's not a lot of the board that's not going to be covered by your bubbles. And keep in mind, we are shrinking the table size. So these 12-inch bubbles are, if you overlap them correctly, there's nowhere on the board you can't touch.
Yeah.
The next up is the Deathless Minion save, the 6-up save, now also radiates from grave sites.
Super important.
Freaking huge. It means you can have basically summonable units out there on the flanks or out there on their own without a dedicated hero to help them.
Yeah.
So big bonus overnight haunt. Very, very handy, because otherwise you'd be truly messed up. And it would be very hard to run these throwaway units. Now, the throwaway units become exactly what you want them to be.
Exactly.
Well, there's more to it, but basically, even if they do get killed, chances are they're coming back. So the new grave sites, the new Unquiet Dead rules are just freaking strong. So much of an improvement, it hurts. Next up, you have the Locus of Shyish, which is just for everybody. This is not a wizard-heavy army.
No.
But in order to make them play in the wizard game, basically you cast a spell, and if you do it on a 9-up, the spell goes off twice. You resolve it the first time, and then you resolve it the second time. Now, if the first one's unbound, all bets are off. But if you get it through, do it again.
Yeah, I have problems with this one, mostly because, like, most of your casters in this only have access to the lore vampires.
Right.
And that is just such a bad spelled lore. And the one that you're probably going to take is the Amethystine Pinions.
Yes.
Which is, give you 6 inches.
Yeah.
Right. But you can't benefit from it twice. Right.
Right. But to me, the generic spell that's going to heal your units is the one where this shines.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So to be able to bring back 2d3 wounds is very, very nice.
Actually, no, it's flat 3.
Oh, is it flat 3?
Yeah.
Okay. See, there again.
Yeah, the Invigorating Aura, I think it is.
Yeah.
It's flat 3.
Okay. So being able to bring back 6, that's a lot of meat that still has to be eaten through. So,
well, especially when you consider the amount of zombies you're going to have, generally speaking, how the direwolves work. Bringing back a direwolf and a half ain't nothing to scoff at.
No, it's not. It really isn't. And it's a super single bonus. And again, it's not like Soulblighter flinging spells left and right. This is going to be rare instances, but it's nice to have something that can go right.
Yeah.
In the spell world. Now, of course, if you're going up against Croak, forget it. You're going to be unbound. Forget it. If you're going up against Tekla, Christ, if you're going up against anybody, it's not going to happen, so shut up. All right. So Deathless Minions gets a little bit of an overhaul, and when I say little bit, I'm doing air quotes, or the little rabbit ears, whatever you want to call it, because Deathless Minions is now a 6-up save, mortal or regular wound after your save, within 12 inches of a hero or a grave. Again, that will cover if you are doing anything well, that will cover the entire board.
Yes.
You should never be without your Deathless Minion save. Careful placement of your grave markers is huge. I mean, again, this is where you win and lose. You don't want to overlap them because that's a waste. Yeah. So you just want to make sure you are covering the objectives that aren't in your spot, and make sure that there's graves that cover those so that you can get units to them and bring units in on them. So it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of real estate now that they cover for you, right? 12 inches in any direction. So essentially you have the 24-inch bubble, right?
Yep.
How you position it, like there's going to, granted you still have to be wholly within, but it's going to cover so much. What I like about this is it's not just like my grave site becomes useless if someone's close to it, like my opponent's close to it. I still get benefits. If I'm going to charge in there, I might not be able to summon a unit, but I'm still getting my Deathless Minion save.
Right.
Right. No, I really like how the grave sites are working right now. I really like the deep strike from them too. I really like how that's going to be working.
And, one thing I wanted to go back, and I was just reading it. One thing I didn't quite cover on the Unquiet Dead, the other generic benefit, and I think it's just that everybody knows this, or I think everyone knows it, is for every grave, if you have grave sites on the board, which you will, you can set up every other unit in reserve. Mm-hmm. And those units can come in on the grave sites.
Yeah.
As well as any units you summon can come in on the grave sites. So I glossed over that because it's one of the things I simply assume everyone knows. But the beauty of those grave sites is you set up a unit on the board, you can set up the next one in reserve. Mm-hmm. Those reserve units come in on any grave marker. So you're deep striking a lot and often. So, and it's going to be, your opponent's going to have to think about zoning those things out. as well as if you're playing Virkos, he's going to have to try to zone out the table edges. So you're forcing bad decisions into your opponent and making him set up in a way he probably doesn't want to set up.
Yeah.
Or her. I'm sorry. That person.
Your opponent, generally.
Yes, your opponent.
No, that's good points, Will. That's good points. The next thing we have, this is kind of a cool rule, but a little awkward. The Reanimated Horrors rule. This is the one where you subtract 1 from the bravery of enemy units while they are within 6 inches of one friendly Deadwalkers or Death Rattle unit. But then you subtract 2 if they're within 6 inches of 2 or more. So this is, and death, of course, can't be affected, right? So the mirror match you wouldn't even think about it, right?
Yeah.
But this is interesting in terms of what bravery might mean in 3.0.
Yes.
Right? Because this is such an interesting call out. And now, granted, it's not like, your zombie dragon is causing, minus to bravery, or your big monsters. It's just your summonable units. Kind of weird. But it hints to me that something's going to be happening with the Battle Shock. Bravery.
I hope something will happen to make it a little more, because there are so many things in this game that modify bravery.
Yeah.
And yet there are so many people who are just, I don't care. I can be minus 10 on bravery. OCRs don't take Battle Shock tests. Just about everybody has access to, I don't roll Battle Shock. Well, no, everyone has it. I mean, it's a standard command ability.
Yep.
And again, most armies have ways to mitigate, and I would like to see some of that go away. I'd like to see bravery have a bigger impact or get rid of it.
Yeah.
Make it go away, because bravery bombs are such a thing that everybody tries, and it just never seems to pan out. It never seems to be able to actually have the effect you think it would. So I looked at that rule as big meh. And one of the things that stood out to me was, of all the things that don't have a bravery modifier, is the vampires.
Yeah.
The things that should scare you, but I understand why they don't. They either have it in and of themselves, or they shouldn't have it because they don't want to go around advertising their presence.
It's fair enough, because they send the minions to death and they come in and just slice up whatever they want to, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I say I think it's going to be, I feel like this is hearkening to 3.0 is Neferata's Legion of Blood has that ability where D3 extra units run.
Yeah.
Right. And as you said before, bravery bombs just don't hit like they should.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that there is a change.
Yep. I agree.
Then the next one was the Endless Legions. Again, reasons why you need to set up your grave sites strategically. End of the Battle Shock phase. You have the number of enemy units that were destroyed during that turn. And then you roll a dice and you add that number of units, right? On a 5-up, you get to bring back Deadwalkers or Death Rattle.
Yep.
At 50% of the original size.
Half strength.
Yeah. So, you lost your, 1 brick of 40 zombies, but hey, let's say you managed to take out a couple elite units. You roll 3 up, 20 zombies come from a gravesite.
Yep.
And zombies have a really good way to bring their own models back and exceed their max unit size.
Yeah, so it can become, just like it is with Night Hunt, it can become an uphill battle to destroy units. And as you destroy units, you sit there and think, why did I destroy that? It just came back. This is so dumb.
Yeah.
So, it's the way the army plays. It's what they do. So, unless you make a list like mine. But honestly, it's a really big change from the old Endless Legion rule, which was a command ability that only the general could do. And it used to be like you didn't roll, you just did it.
Yeah.
Now I think this is going to have a lot more, it's a better rule, even though it's determined by the number of enemy units you killed. Hopefully you're out there killing units.
Yeah.
So, not bad. Not bad.
No. Then Deathly Invocation. So this is depending on the type of hero.
Yeah.
Right. You get a certain number of Deathly Invocations, and it has to be a summonable unit wholly within 12 of that hero. And the keyword will determine how many you roll for.
Yep.
And so you roll D3 for each of the units that you select, and you can only select the unit once.
Yep.
Right. Right now, like before, they have Legions of Nagash had the ability where they're just like, by the way, oh look, my skeletons are back.
Right.
All of them.
Yes.
Right. Which I know a lot of people lamented that that's gone. I understand why though, because again, we don't want the game to take forever.
Yeah.
We need there to be a cap on how long it's going to take, how many times you can bring things back, and just like, oh, by the way, here's 40 skeletons again. back when skeletons were a little punchy,
Yeah.
you know, it was a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And so then they take that away because eventually, if you're strong enough on the other side, you can win the attrition war, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's not going to be easy, but it's not going to be impossible. It's not just going to be this impassable wall of skeletons.
Yeah. They're going to dwindle, and what's baked in now is there's more ways now to bring them back.
Oh, yeah.
In little chunks as opposed to, it's, I kind of, what I think is really the biggest change about this is it's any hero can do this now.
Yeah.
So it's whoever is in the correct range will do it. And honestly, I reread this rule a couple of times and I don't see where it says you can't do it more than once.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I know each unit can be affected once, but it says at the beginning or at the,
well, it says here, and I'm looking just underneath the keyword stuff. The second paragraph there, for each unit you pick, you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to that unit. Or if no wounds are allocated to it, you can return a number of slain models to that unit that have a combined wound characteristic of D3 or less. Roll separately for each unit. The same unit cannot benefit from this ability more than once per turn.
mm-hmm.
In addition, a unit cannot benefit from this ability and the invocation of Nagash ability in the same turn.
But at the very start, it says at the start of your hero phase, you can pick a number of different friendly Soulblight Graveyard summonable units, wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Soulblight Gravelord hero, to be affected by a deathly invocation. I guess there's nothing in there that. Yeah, I think it should say that it's only done once, but
okay,
because I don't think it's true. I don't think you can do it multiple times.
Yeah.
I know each unit can only have it done once.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to do these 2 over there from that regular leader. Then the Mortark is over here. He'll do these 4 units.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So yeah, Deathly Invocation got different. It's kind of, I like how it's sort of factored by whoever the leader is.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of cool. And, it works, and it's just another way to bring your boys back. Oh, God.
That's one thing you have to be ready for at this army is, you're going to be taking models off the board quickly. You're going to be putting back on the board quickly.
Yeah.
So make sure that you've protected your models by, making sure you put some type of varnish on them if you've got it painted up. Otherwise, you're going to just rub paint off especially like zombies and skeletons.
Oh, my gosh.
Those things are coming on and off the board
constantly.
So quickly.
And you'll need to be ready to, there are some other factions you're going to play against that need to know the number of models that were killed. So you may need to keep separate track because you're going to be putting these things on, taking them off in the middle of the phase.
Yeah.
Or in the middle of the turn. So you're going to have to kind of keep track of, for at least bravery purposes and battle shock purposes, how many actually died, regardless of how many came back.
Yeah.
So, okay. So after that, it's time to move into some of the other things that the army does. And that's the amazing spell lores that they, oh wait. Now I say that and I'm laughing, because honestly, you don't buy into Soulblight for the amazing spell power that they have. Or you shouldn't be anyway.
Yeah. I mean, Lore of the Death Mages actually has some good stuff in it, right? Like I would really pick some of those spells, but Lore of the Vampires is,
and it's the one that's most prevalent in the army. Lord of the Death Mages is only for
Necromancer, Mortarks, and Nagash.
Yeah. So, and I think that's why it's the far stronger of the two. The spell lores, wow. So everyone, no matter what, gets the Invigorating Aura. That's the, hey, let's heal some of my summonable units because that's fun.
Yes.
And so everybody gets that. That's a given. The Lore of the Death Mages does have some really powerful things, but again, it's only powerful wizards that know that. The Lore of the Vampires is all very much like the Vile Transference. Is pick one enemy unit within 6 inches of the caster, roll a number of dice equal to half that unit's wounds characteristic. For each 6, you heal 1 wound to the caster. I mean, you're depending on so many different things. It's almost useless. I took it for my Crimson Court guy, but I think the best one, of course, you mentioned is the Amethystine Pinions.
Yeah.
Casting value of 5. If successfully cast, add 6 to your move characteristic. Bammo. Say Blood Knights, say Terrorgeist, say Vampire Lord on Zombie Drag. Oh, okay. Yeah, I take that a lot. But Yeah, the spell lores are nothing to write home about.
Yeah, particularly Lore of the Vampires. I mean, there's some things you might take for narrative reasons, like if you can't pick your spell, you have to roll for it based on the rules of your narrative.
Yep.
Could be interesting. Vial Transference, to me, like, I think it just misses so much. Sorry, you had mentioned it, but when I hear transference, right, I feel like there is a swap, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're sucking the life out of an enemy unit,
Yes.
how is it that you might heal some, but they don't take damage?
They don't take damage from it. Yeah.
Like if it was, D3 mortals and you heal that amount, okay. I mean, it still wouldn't be great.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a casting on a 4.
It's casting on a 4, so it should go off.
Yeah. So if it was, D3 to you, I get D3.
Yeah.
Then it might be useful. But, it's probably pinions, particularly because you're probably taking a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon and you want that dude to get his 6-inch extra.
Yeah, I mean, it's super huge when you're looking at the big beasts and getting in there and getting into the scrum. It can also be real big for getting a skeleton unit, getting a zombie unit where you want them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is a very useful spell of all of them. I think it's the only one really worth taking. So, yeah.
Quick note there, but it's only the caster's move characteristic that's affected by that. Amethyst and pinions. So you won't be able to toss it on anything else, unfortunately.
Well, so much for that. That lore, that whole spell lore sucks. Yeah. Okay. Useless.
That's the only one I could see taking, just because you're taking a Velazda.
A Velazda. Yeah. So, oh well.
Lore of the Death Mages. There's so many good things in here,
Yeah.
like Overwhelming Dread, -1 to hit to an enemy unit. Yeah, I want that. Or Spectral Grasp. This is interesting too, particularly if terrain's going to become more prevalent, right?
Yes.
So if there's an enemy unit that starts their move within 3 inches of the terrain, it's halved.
Yes.
That's amazing.
That's awesomely good. Yeah.
then-
all those units that are hanging out and hiding in the trees.
Oh, and then Decrepify. Oh, God.
Yes.
Yeah, you target a hero, it's -1 to wound and -1 damage. That's huge.
That could potentially swing a combat your way.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Particularly like you see the Stormcast heroes, when you have those more elite heroes where you're like, no, it's going to be harder for you to do anything.
Yes.
And so then, they just kind of whiff when they show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it could have been better.
It's I think they're downplaying the spell lores for the simple reason that a powerful spell casting vampire army would be probably nudging towards maybe a little too much. So now after the spell lores, we should probably go into the different allegiances that you have. Of these, the bloodlines, you have, of course, Legion of Blood, Legion of Night, and then, like we said before, you had Virkos, Castellai, and Evangori. They each have their little Legion of Blood is, of course, what you would think. It is the Legion of Blood. It's the Neferata. It's the let's do some really crazy shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's a very tanky type of army.
mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of sustain, particularly when you're using Death Rattle, right? Neferata's spell is bonkers. Good. Yeah, just ignoring any negative modifier to your save. But it's not any modifier, it's negative
modifiers. So yeah, that's huge in that means all the good stuff keeps happening.
Oh yeah.
So
and a real quick design note before we get too far into this, what I like about this is they followed more of like a Cities of Sigmar type of thing instead of like the faction specific things that you would have in other books where it's like, all right, you're, Starborn, this subfaction, right, Dracothian's Tale, and so you get this command ability, this artifact, and it just like it hammers it out. Here you get real choices, So again, that talks about more of the flexibility that you're talking about earlier when you're making your builds.
Yes, you can play.
So Legion of Blood, they get the 2 battle traits, right? So the ignore native modifiers, hit and wound rolls for attacks, melee weapons made by Legion of Blood, Death Rattle, while they're wholly within 12 inches of a friendly
Legion of Blood
vampire, right? Or wholly within the general.
18 inches of a vampire hero.
And then you got the D3 extra models flee. Some of the command traits are okay. I'm not personally too much of a fan of the Legion of Blood.
No,
right?
Me either. It's they have decent artifacts. The command traits are pretty good, and they're all very themey. We're not going to go over each one of them. This book's been out, but it's very themed towards the Neferata idea of, they're going to subtract bravery. They're going to subtract from hit rolls. It's basically going to make your army better by making your swings less effective. So, and that's what the artifacts and the command traits are basically there to do.
You have to say the Soulbound Garments is a standout, though, for the artifacts. That's just a straight +1 to save.
Yep.
You have that on a Vlazd.
Yep.
2-up save.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Oh, it's so spicy. Yeah, it's an attrition army in the sense that, like, I don't think that you're going to eventually take them down. It's just that they are not going to be able to take you down.
Yeah. Which
is a completely different style of play than some might want to. A lot of people want to crash in there and do it right, shoot everyone down, that kind of thing. Neferata's plan is to essentially hold fast and probably manipulate the bravery.
Yes.
So you're going to want to make sure your units are stacking together so you have 2 death rattle within range of the enemy, and that way you can get some more.
You can max that out so that you do get a failed battle shock and D3 more models flee, and there's a lot of different ways to make the enemy evaporate. And while they're evaporating, you are too, but you're bringing stuff back.
Yeah, like the baked in death rattle ability, where when they're chosen to activate, you roll a dice for every model that was slain, before the activation. On a 4, they get back up.
Oh my God.
And then, so then if you got Van Hells on them, you have 2 activations. So you bring ostensibly 4 or half back, and then you do it again.
Yep.
Right. And they keep piling in. And what's interesting is how you can use that to forward deploy. So if models you're pulling models from the back, right?
Yep.
And then as they come back, they just have to come back into the unit. And so they're stacking the front. And so you're using that to manipulate your positioning.
Yep.
And try and probably snake objectives.
Yep.
Wrap everything, prevent move block, all kinds
Tar
of things.
pit, and there's just so many wonderful things you can do. Okay, so that's Legion of Blood. Legion of Night. Let's get into Manfred.
Yeah, Manfred got real good. He himself got real good.
He got real good. His Legion got, okay. They're not bad. They have their battle traits. Immortal Evil, one of which is the bait. Add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target friendly death rattle and friendly dead walkers in the first battle round. So kind of helps you weather that first strike, which is not bad at all. It's really not bad. It means you can forward deploy, or you can make mistakes in deployment and not pay as hefty a price as you might have. Yeah. So very nice.
Yeah, I think what they used to be before is that it was +1 to save on your side of the board.
Yeah.
Now that they have the whole Ageless Cunning thing where they can come off the side of the board,
which is the next trait.
Yeah. So I think that's sort of they're using that in conjunction. Plus if something pops up in a grave site, and it's turn 1, like hopefully they can actually like if you bring up a unit of 20 death rattle, right? They're on a 4-up save. They're holding that objective, turn 1.
Yeah.
And, they're going to try and shoot him down or charge him or something. And it gives you just that little extra so you can get there with the remaining units.
And that had always been the problem with that forward deployment of death units in the past, is that, great. You came out of the grave, you ran to the objective, and then you just basically got dead really fast. Yep. Now this gives you a chance to, live and be effective. Or at least not get killed to a man, so that the healing stuff can kick in and start bringing you back.
Exactly.
So the Ageless Cunning that we just referred to, instead of setting up a Legion of Night unit on the battlefield, you can place it to one side, say that it is set up in ambush as a reserve unit. You set up 1 reserve unit in ambush for each unit you place on the board. At the end of any movement phase, you can set up 1 or more of these units on the battlefield, wholly within 6 inches of the battlefield edge, more than 9 inches away from all enemy units, at the start of the 4th battle round, everybody dies. I mean, everyone that's not on the board dies. Yeah. Standard rule there. So whereas most of the rest of this book uses the grave sites, the Legion of Night uses all the edges of the board. Mm-hmm. With a smaller board size that we're going to, this will have impact right away. Mm-hmm. I don't know too many armies, except for maybe squigs, that have the bodies to basically zone out all of the edges of the board.
Yeah.
So there's going to be leakers, and death is going to get through.
Particularly with Legion of Night, if you want to have tricksy deployment shenanigans, you go Legion of Night.
Yeah.
Hands down. Because not only that, you have Vargeists that are battle line in Legion of Night, right?
Isn't that sick?
And they can deep strike, right? So not only can you come out of the grave, off the board edge, but your Vargeist can come on down and start slicing as well. And so if you, in a perfect world, you would literally be able to box your opponent in with the number of bodies that you can have come up where they can come up, right? Gravesite set just right, coming off the side of the board, Vargeist fly on down. Essentially, like, you need to get through this wall. In the meantime, you have your heroes doing what they need to do, particularly Manfred. Jeez, so good. Just so everyone knows it by now, but Mortarch of Night just made him amazing, right? Now he has ability at the beginning of the combat phase, right? If he's within 3 inches, not the combat phase, not your combat phase,
the combat
phase, within 3 inches of an enemy unit, he can just pop off the board and appear anywhere else, which is great for his charge ability. I think it's his command ability, right?
Yes.
So he does the charge and then buffs, a bunch of units and then disappears, right? It's like, yes, my minions, here are all the benefits that you need in order to, fight these guys, and I'm out because number one. Yes. I am number one. I'm not going to die here. Which isn't to say that he can't get completely killed in shooting.
Sure.
That you can't use pylon shenanigans in order to lock him down.
To rein him in, yeah.
Or if you're fighting like Night Haunt, where if you roll the 10+ on the charge, you fight automatically before it even changes phases. So he could still be pinned down. He's not invincible, but he's going to be real hard to fight. And he got, +1 save, so he's at a 3-up save, and he's up to 12 wounds.
Yeah. Which, 12 wounds is over that little hump of protecting him. So interesting. I love the boy, and he's I think actually going to start making a real impact now that he has people that help support him, and he synergizes so well with the forces that he's commanding.
Yes.
So yeah, Manfred's going to be fun to play.
No, I definitely think so. I think you're going to see builds with him in it, no matter what.
Yep.
One of the better war scrolls. Maybe he's a little overcosted. I think he's like 380.
Yeah.
Probably a little too expensive.
He's slightly, yeah.
But I mean, probably pointed for 3.0, right?
And that's just it. Is we have to remember, what happened in 40K. The price of everything went up because of the, you can't have these cheap units on a board size that is markedly smaller.
Yep.
You would just be basically, the board would be zoned out all the time.
Yeah.
So you can expect to see price increases across the board. And I think he just reflects that now.
Mm-hmm.
He's worth what he is for that sort of table size and the new methodology. So I'm good with it. I
am too.
So do you want to move on to Virkos?
Oh, yes. So Virkos is probably my vote for the best sub-faction.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No, it's a little bit of an upset there, but yes, it is. It is, in fact. Their basic battle traits, pretty solid, right? So add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Dynasty Death Rattle and Deadwalkers units while they're within 9 inches of any friendly Virkos Dynasty Vampire heroes, right?
Which is not hard to. That's going to happen almost all the time.
Yes.
So yeah, that's huge. +1 to wound. I'll take it.
Yeah, all day. All day
long.
I mean, more for the Death Rattle than anything. And the dire wolves.
The dire wolves are going to become,
The zombies, generally, you're not really banking on them actually doing too many wounds.
Right.
Because you're rolling for 6s to hit. That's what you're fishing for.
Yeah, you're fishing for their ability.
Oh,
so
good.
So
good.
Well, it is. It's and it should be. And I think one key point to remember about Virkos Dynasty is every model release that we've seen in this latest Soulblight thing is Virkos.
Yes.
Because every other one was already represented in the range. Yeah. Virkos is the only one that needed, things. Mm-hmm. So all your Radicars, all of your stuff, they're all Virkos Dynasty. So you have a plethora to choose from, and a play style can develop from anything you want in this.
And hearkening to those scrolls, right? We talked about this earlier. You can have up to 5 generals in this army, right? Because Belladama counts. Radikar the Beast counts. You're not going to take Radikar the Wolf, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Lady Anika counts. Kritza the Rat Prince counts, right? So you have 4 that are just automatically also the general.
Yes.
Right? So then you're going to throw in your Vampire Lord, right? You can have up to 5. Now, points-wise, I don't know if that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, it's...
Unless you take all foot heroes, then you can take just a Vamp Lord on foot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You could.
That wouldn't be too terrible. So seeing that, knowing you have 5 generals in an army, one in 3.0, does that go to CP gen?
Yes.
Right? If it does, they're going to be unlimited CP.
Crazy.
Yeah. Does it go to how they dish out command abilities, right? Are there going to be command abilities that everyone has access to, right, that are going to be powerful enough that you want to have this many generals?
Yeah.
Sounds like it, right? So if you take, the base 5 on foot generals in Virkos, you're going to be able to make sure you've got your bubbles for the +1 to wound.
Yeah.
It means you're going to be really effective making sure your deathless minions are taken care of.
Yeah. Almost impossible to be out of range.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, I just thought it was so weird that they're the ones who get this next ability, which is the Strength of the Wolf is the Pack. Which you read that and you're like, oh, what does that do? You reroll casting rolls for friendly Virkos Dynasty Vampire Wizards. Great ability. Not sure why it's titled the way it is.
Yeah,
right?
Well,
because that felt like, like if you're within range of other, the packs together.
Shouldn't it be like if you're in range of another? But no. It's okay.
Now, they've got some decent command traits. I mean, the one that probably everyone's going to take is Hunter Snare.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hands down the winner if you read it. I mean, the one where you can summon 5 dire wolves is fun.
Yeah.
But Hunter Snare, if you've got a Vlasta, and it's their wound characteristic, not the amount of wounds they have.
It's their wound characteristic.
And he's 14.
Yeah.
Right? 14 models from the one.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, why isn't this in Avangori?
Oh, my God. Don't know, because that would truly make it go over the top. But it's Virkos.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And then the artifact that I kind of go to first is going to be Sangsaron.
Yep.
Which is you pick one of the bearer's melee weapons, and if you make a charge move, you add D3 attacks on a Vlaz. That's huge. Yeah.
It's very huge.
Particularly because they get +2 damage on the charge now instead of +1.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Those are like the hammers in almost every single army build that you're making. It's going to be the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like his back is going to break because he bears the burden of carrying this entire army.
Carrying everything. Yes. Oh, man. But again, it's fun, and you don't have to have one. Although it's incredibly fun to play it. So, yeah, take it. It's only, 435 points?
Yeah, that's it. But, again, maybe a little overcosted. If he was more like 400 points, then I think he'd be just right where he needed to be.
Right there, yeah.
Particularly because they took away the chalice and only Vordry has the chalice now.
Yeah, and that, they make up for it with different ways to heal. Mm-hmm. But... I found a lot of times you needed that chalice to stay relevant in the game. Although now that you can, select to be at once per game at the top of your table. So, I mean, there's ways to mitigate.
Yeah.
So damage.
Yeah. In Avangori, there is. Yeah.
Yeah. In Avangori.
Yeah. So
moving on to the Castelli Dynasty. So this is the Crimson Keep. This is... This is the, I really have to be home by midnight or a pumpkin, and I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's these guys are really, really cool. I like these. The Sanguine Lance is what they call them. Mm-hmm. They have the shifting keep. So instead of setting up Blood Knights on the battlefield, place them to one side, say it's set up an ambush, blah, 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 blah. Again, on this one, bring it in within 6 inches of the battlefield edge, more than 9 inches from enemy units. So your Blood Knights are now the ones that are doing the outflanking.
Yep.
And Blood Knights are significantly better now. And yeah, that's something that would be very, very scary to see 10 Blood Knights, 5 Blood Knights popping in, say, on the rear edge or one of the side edges next to that could be very disconcerting for your opponent.
Yeah, I mean, their base unit size is 5.
Yeah.
They've got 3 wounds each. To start, by the way, we haven't gotten into the spiciness on what they can do in Castelli. And then a 3-up save.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
15 wounds on a 3-up save with some real damage potential popping up next to you.
It's killer.
Yeah, it is.
It's killer. So their other big battle trait is Might of the Crimson Keep. So each time a friendly Dynasty Vampire, a Castelli Vampire Dynasty unit destroys an enemy unit, that friendly unit gains relevant ability below for the rest of the battle.
Oh.
Okay, that's huge. A unit cannot gain the same ability more than once per battle, but it doesn't say it can't have all 3 of them.
Exactly.
But only once. And the abilities are, if the enemy unit was a hero or a monster, you get Bloodied Strength, add 1 to your damage, characteristic of melee weapons used by that unit, excluding mounts.
Yeah.
And they really have to play in this book. I noticed they played a lot with including mounts and excluding mounts.
Yep.
So now, if the enemy unit you killed had a wounds characteristic of 3 or more and was not a hero or monster, you add 1 to the wounds characteristic.
Oh, man.
And lastly, if the enemy unit had a wounds characteristic of 2 or less, you absorb their speed. Now, this is huge. You add 2 to run and charge rolls for that unit.
Oh, yeah.
Just for the rest of the game. Just because you killed him. Just this is super strong. I hate to say it. This is super strong because units are going to kill other units.
Yeah.
And your vampires are going to get out there and do stuff. Yep. The vampires, the heroes in this army, are designed to go out there and do stuff. They're not hanging back. You start pumping these guys up with +1 damage, +1 wound, and 2 extra to their run, they're going to get freaking amazing really fast. And yeah, this is fun.
Oh, it's really fun. And one of the things, too, just make sure everyone remembers, your Vargeist count as vampires as well.
Yes.
So this affects your vampire heroes,
Yep.
your Blood Knights, and your Vargeists. That is significant, especially when you're looking at how you want to build this army.
Yep.
Vargeist, I mean, one of the few times I might say, like, don't go all in on zombies. This is where you can have them shine. And it looks so fun. It's going to be your elite choice, obviously,
yes.
Right? This is your
very
choice.
Elite army.
As it should be when you think of what, the Crimson Keep is supposed to represent, right?
Yep. These are, I run out of the Crimson Keep. I have to do everything within 24 hours and get back to the Crimson Keep. Otherwise, bad things happen.
Yep.
It's not specified what the bad thing is, but, so these are hard-hitting shock troops. Mm-hmm. And if you like that kind of style of in-your-face, hit you, their artifacts, their command traits are all bent around that. Some of the command traits are like the general can run and charge. Another one is you can re-roll charge rolls for the whole army if they're within 12 inches of this general. So, I mean, they have all these things that are meant to make them more reactive and get in there and just get hits.
Yeah, the one that I'm drawn to immediately is the Rousing Commander one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you get to get the +1 damage, +1 wound from the Might of the Crimson Keep table for that turn.
Yep.
Which has some really interesting flex plays, right? Because obviously, like, you would probably want to do it on the charge so you get the most bang for your buck. But if you're in a bad situation where you need like a unit of Blood Knights to absorb a ton of damage,
yes,
you can use it at that instance too. So they go up 1 wound, and they have to get through 20 wounds at a 3+ save in order to drop that unit,
which is really big.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, this is fun.
Oh yeah.
This is all designed around, super hard hitting, super in your face, and elite. It's elite's done right. So,
God,
and
that's so cool.
Last but not least, we have the Avangori.
Oh yeah.
So Avangori they're led by Look of Eye.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of the more monstery version of what you're gonna see and play with. Basically, they have cursed abominations. Their battle traits are cursed abominations. So if you include any Terrorgeists or zombie dragons, one of those models has a cursed mutation. We'll get into those here in a second. And you can have more cursed mutations for each battalion that you have, but there is no Avangori battalion. So it's kind of hard at this moment to make a battalion with this dynasty. Stay tuned 1 month, and we'll tell you about all the cool core battalions they can make.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that this thing does is it makes Terrorgeists and zombie dragons battle line, which we'll get into here after we take a break and we cover some lists. The next thing they have is Monstrous Might. So Terrorgeists, zombie dragons, vampire, subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target Terrorgeists and zombie dragons or dynasty vampire monsters, unless the attacker is a monster. So basically, these guys get a -1 to wound against most everything.
Yeah.
If you're in Avangori, which helps your Terrorgeists out a lot. And your zombie dragons. The last battle trait that they have is Unstoppable Nightmares. This is the one that I think is fun.
Yeah.
In the combat phase, you can pick 1 friendly Terrorgeist, zombie dragon, or vampire monster to unleash its monstrous powers. If you do so, until the end of that phase, use the top row of the table. So even if your Terrorgeist is down to the last, he's got a bunch of wounds, and he's down to the end of his thing, you use the top of the table. That has helped me out in so many games.
Oh yeah.
That it's just crazy to be able to fight it full, because there was a version of this in the old Legion. It's so helpful to be able to fight at that top table, even when you're badly hurt. And a lot of times, because of the way these guys work, if they do damage, they heal.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be super important to get this so that you can get him back on his feet.
Yep.
So now the cursed mutations that come up, these are so meh, but they're so very thematic.
Agreed.
So it's a D3 table, or you pick, the first one is Maddening Hunger. Once per turn, start the combat phase, pick 1 enemy unit with a wounds characteristic of 1 that is within 3 inches of the model. If you do so, slay that model, heal 1 wound. So basically, he eats a bad guy soldier, and he gains a health. It's a dragon thing to do,
Yeah. It's also really helpful when you have like the sergeant models doing a lot of heavy lifting, like are they Hecatosses? Is that what they are in the OBR? Or like the leader of the Lumineth Realm Lords is the one who can do the spell, right? Like sniping that one model,
picking the banner bearer, picking the musician, because it says specifically it just has to be 1 enemy model within 3 inches, and you pick it.
Yep.
So it can be that guy who's annoying you by giving rerolls or what have you.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely super helpful, and you heal with it. So it's a dragon thing to do.
Very dragon.
And that's once per turn. So I'm good with that. The next one, Urges of Atrocity, is a once per battle. You can run in charge in the same turn. I hate anything that's once per battle. You're not paying for this, but still, really, once per battle run in charge when other factions get that as a general rule.
Yes.
So come on, let's get real here.
Yeah.
These are freaking zombie dragons. And then the last up is Null Blood Construct, which again is going to be situational because you can cause the enemy to re-roll successful casting rolls for enemy wizards within 9 inches of this model. If you're going against a magic heavy army, maybe, but if you're going against Teclis, Nagash, something like that, it's not going to be that helpful because they're not going to care that much about having to re-roll. And if they're within 9 inches, they're probably using magic on you pretty bad.
Well, you have to announce that trait, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be like, all right, so that's the Terrorgeist I need to kill first because that's the one you're going to be trying to run into my wizards. Like it's just, yeah. So again, it's projecting your strategy too much. And just to underline it on the hunger one, the Manding Hunger, it's at the start of the combat phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once per turn. So it's not just mine, it's the combat phase.
Right.
Right? It doesn't say battle round. So you get one model every single time. So even if you get double turned, you're still going to pick off two models unless they kill you.
Yeah.
But
well, there's that. But, it's out there and it's free heal. And it's also a way to, like you said, get that model that's really ticking you off. Mm-hmm. And it says within 3 inches of this model, chances are bad guy has to be in range of his weapon too, which is usually probably 1 or 2. So you're going to have those nasty things in range.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then when you get to the command traits for them, they're not all that great.
No.
In this dynasty, you are relying on the strength of your monsters and their war scrolls. So their artifacts are okay. Too many of them are once per battle. So it's a double problem artifact thing. So I don't like once per battle.
Yeah, all 3 of them are once per battle.
Yeah, unless they're really powerful, which these are not.
No.
So, but that's basically the dynasties. We're going to we've been at this for an hour and a half. So let's take a quick break, and then we're going to go into some lists. We're not going to go into war scrolls or anything like that.
No.
But we'll go into some example lists that we made up, and then we'll finish up by sort of summarizing the faction. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
So that was our quick overview of just the bloodlines and the Soulblight. So we thought we would jump in and create a few lists. And I think you made a bunch. I made one because I thought we were doing one each. I was wrong. What I did was I made a list this was designed to take my old Legion army and sort of move it to the new book with the least amount of money spent. Mm-hmm. There's some money out here, but nothing here should be. I'll explain as I go. So basically, it's a Soulblight Gravelord list. Yeah, and I went with the Avangori Dynasty simply because I like monsters, and monsters are cool. So for my leaders, I have a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. Go figure.
What?
Yeah, my.
Bill, no one's gonna run that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, wrong. His command trait, torment-driven throws. He's equipped with the Death Lance, of course, so that I can get the max on the charge. For the artifact, I gave him the Furious Crown. And for his spell, I gave him, go figure, the Amethystine Pinions, so that he can get the extra 6 inches. He's fun. He's the beat stick, and he is the focus of the army. He is the one that's going to be out there in the front line. To support him, I took Belladama Volga, which I probably should have taken Luck of Eye to be a lot more themey.
Yeah.
But I like both of the models, and I think she just brings more to the table than Luck of Eye does.
I'd agree, yes.
So, and for only 200 points, she's not bad. I gave her Spirit Gale just to have something in that slot. I hadn't really looked at the spells terribly too much. So, and then I went a little crazy, and for my last leader, I took Prince Duval. So that means the Crimson Court comes with him just because they're so cool. And honestly, what it does is it gives me a small unit with a baked-in leader that can go out and either grab an objective or camp an objective.
Yeah.
Or if I have to get into it, it's not a bad unit. For 200 points, it's only 4 models, but it's actually beefy and it can do some hurt. It can put some damage out there. So for my units, I took a double unit of Blood Knights, so 10 Blood Knights. That's 400 points, 390. Because Blood Knights are cool.
Yes.
And they will set up in reserve and they will pop out somewhere that you just don't want to know about. I also took 20 Death Rattle Skeletons. I might split that into 2 10s.
Okay.
But probably leave. No, they come in 20s, right? Smallest is
10,
20.
20, 30.
Is it 10? Minimum 10?
I believe so.
Let's look at the back page real quick. I think I did have to hit the plus. So Death Rattle Skeletons. Yep, 10, 30. So I might split that into 2 units just to have a little bit more. They're just there to camp objectives. I'm not, my focus on them is not to win with Death Rattle Skeletons. Not going to happen. So, and then, of course, because this is Avangori and Blood Knights are not battle line, so only the Death Rattles are battle line, I need 2 more battle line. What possibly could I choose? Oh, I know. A Terrorgeist and a Zombie Dragon. So this is going to have the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon plus a Zombie Dragon plus a Terrorgeist.
Yes.
Yeah. The Terrorgeist gets the Null Blood construct just because anytime I can mess with a spellcaster, I will.
Yep.
And yeah, they're just going to go out and do work. I'm not going to go over the Zombie Geist and the Terrorgeist War Scroll bit by bit, but suffice to say, they're just like they were in the old days. They're very tough. They eat people and they gain health from it, and it's hard to knock them down. And they fly and they move. Yeah, they're good. And they will not be set up in reserve. The Blood Knights, the Death Rattles will probably be in reserve. They will not be. But that was my list. And honestly, the reason I chose this is the only thing that I have to buy, I would have to buy for this would be Belladama. And the, that's it. I'm sorry. The Blood Knight. Well, you don't even have to buy the Blood Knights. I had to buy Belladama. And I already have the Underworlds, the Prince Duval with the Crimson Court. So if you're not using any other models, you can use the old cavalry, the old, what's his name? Hex Knights. What the hell are they? God damn it. The old Knights. The old Blood Knights.
The old Blood Knights.
Yeah, the old Blood Knights. For the new Blood Knights, you don't have to buy that kit. I have enough of the old skeletons and zombies to, probably drown a small table, so I don't need those. Basically, I could put this on the table today if I built Belladama Volga. So that was my goal, was to get you into this new book for the lowest price possible.
Gotcha.
And that was it. And is it going to win a tournament? No. Is it going to be really hard to hold objectives? Kinda, but you do have that benefit of the big monsters. If you were doing... There's a couple scenarios that this would be almost an auto lose. But then there's a couple of them where this is going to put so much pressure on objectives if you want to focus on it that you can almost call it not an auto win, but you'd have a really good shot. Yeah. People would be dying. It's going to be very weak against very powerful shooting, but not horrifically so because it can get to the shooters pretty quick. So I don't know. It's super. It's I think balanced, but it ain't gonna go out. This is a 2 and 3, maybe 3 and 2 at a tournament.
Yeah, and I think a lot of lists are gonna be that way. But it's just like you said. It's you coming in things you mostly already have.
Yeah, I already have this army except for Belladama.
Exactly. It's how do you transition into the new book, right? And yeah, we were originally going to do just one list each, but then my brain started going and I'm wait, I have to let's look at this combo. Wait, no, let's look at this combo. So I got it down to 3 lists that I made.
Outstanding. Let's hear them.
So what I wanted to do with these lists is these are not the final draft tournament lists. Like these are ways for you to get into 3 different factions and try them out. In fact, I did 3 factions you didn't do, Bill. I didn't touch Avangori.
Yeah.
So I did Castelli, Legion of Night, and Virkos.
Nice.
Okay.
I want to see your Virkos list. I might build it.
We're gonna save that one for the end.
All right.
So I did for the Castelli dynasty. This is where I was like, well, if we're gonna go elite, we're going elite, right? So what I did here is I took Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon and Prince Vordry.
Of course.
Right? So you got your 2 dragons. They are straight up beat sticks.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They're going to come in swinging hard. Now then, for battle lines, I did 3 units of 5 Blood Knights. And I can't not include these in the list. 20 Deadwalker zombies. Just so you have some bodies to, maybe, block backfield deployment.
Yeah.
Or just to shamble over to, and grab an objective, depending on the scenario. Or in the event that they can actually get their 6-inch pile in on like a weak unit, say like a Grotz or something, then they can actually build up their forces. And then I got 2 units of 3 Vargeists, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with the remaining 100 points. I threw cogs in there just to kind of try it out, just to see, can we move up the board even faster, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to hurt.
No. The alternative you could do with that is drop the cogs for a corpse cart.
Oh.
And then have that truck along with the zombies. And so then you actually have this like subtle threat in the back that you could do either like the -1 to enemy casting, or you can do the -1 to wound.
Yep.
Right. And so then you have it slowly moving up. So that way, when you have a pivotal turn, next thing you know, it's -1 to wound, because of the corpse cart.
Yeah.
So that's, again, these are just starting out. So why did I pick this list? You got 2 big MFers coming in to hit hard.
Yep.
They're backed by 3 units of Blood Knights, which they have their ability where they can do a standard movement in the movement phase. They can move as if they had fly and go over units with wounds 3 or less that are not mounted, which I know rules as written people are saying it reads like a retreat. I think the spirit is that it's not a retreat.
No.
Right? It's meant to you just trample over them. And so I wanted to include sized units of Blood Knights to maximize the number of Blood Knights
that you can do that with. Yeah.
And there's any other ways to flex this. If you want to drop the Vargeist, get more Blood Knights. I put the Vargeist in there just because, heck, they can fly on down. They count as vamps, so they can get the bonuses, from the Crimson Keep. And this is just trying to feel like the truly elite army, and I wanted that feel there. So it's just a good starting place.
Yeah, I like that.
Then the next one I came up with is a Legion of Night. I call this one Oops All Zombies.
Gee, I wonder what this is going to be.
Well, the basis for this list was 160 zombies and 2 corpse carts. So I started there.
Okay, that's an interesting place to start, but that's the theme.
Yeah, exactly. So you figure you got 160 zombies, right? You've got 160 wounds on the board.
Yes.
Right? Each represented by a single model. The amount of real estate that you're going to take up with them is absurd. So you are going to want to put some in reserve, bring them on the board edge, right? At least 1 to 2 of the units.
Yes.
Right? Then for leaders, we've got Manfred, we've got 2 Necros, and a Vamp Lord.
You're sick. 2 Necros doing Dance Macabre. Oh, God, I hate you. This is why we don't play the game. Because you would just table me on turn 1, and I'd be like, what happened?
This is not an Alpha Strike army. This army is not going to really hit until turn 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right? And the Vamp Lord, of course, is there to toss the extra attack onto the zombies, right?
Yeah.
So you have, up to however many, units of zombies with 2 attacks each instead of 1. So you're swinging 80 times Van Hells, right? So you're just smashing through the lines, right? And I think we're kind of taking for granted that people know exactly what zombies do. So zombies, the reason why zombies are so good.
That's true. Yeah, we are.
is that zombies don't ever need to actually charge if you set them up right. So
yeah,
they've got a 4-inch move. It's piddly, right?
Yes.
But they have the special ability, which is like drag them to the ground or something like that. I think you have it up in front of you, where they can grab. They essentially can pile in 6 inches, right, when they're eligible to pile in, right, and so you can be just outside, right, or at the 2.9ers, right. You're just outside, and then boom, you're in without just. It's my activation. I'm coming in.
Yes.
Right. Then their ability is anytime they roll a 6 to hit, it is a mortal wound in the attack sequence ends.
Yay.
Right? The thing about it is,
there's more?
If you slay any models with that unit, roll a dice on a 2-up, you add a zombie to the unit. Now, it's not return a slain model.
No.
There's no caveat about a cap.
Add 1 dead walker zombie.
Yeah. So you can go over your max size unit, right?
It's so sick. And when you're looking at, oh God, when you're rolling 20 dice, I mean, chances are you're not going to get all of them into a fight, but oh crap.
But they're on 25s, so you are going to be able to, double rank them. And you should be able to get a significant number in, particularly with Van Hells, right? So Van Hells should make it so that last one hopefully, you're able to get all the zombies attacking.
Yes.
So, trying to math it out in my head right now, but if they've got the Vampire Lord buff and Van Hels, 1 unit of 40 zombies, assuming that they get, both ranks in, right, is going to throw 160 dice, depending on what dies, right? But the first launch of 80, right? And again, you're looking for 6s to hit. You're going to get something like, what is like 11 or 12 mortal wounds through.
Yeah.
And if you're fighting, 1 wound models, that's going to be about 10 new zombies.
Yeah.
Before you activate
The second
Van
time.
Hels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Ridiculous.
so this is really do you want zombies? Because you're getting zombies.
Yeah.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Meantime, Manfred gets to pop in, do his little shenanigans, pop out. And the thing about Manfred, he can literally just win you the game, given that he just, by the way, I poured it out and I'm on the objective now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just needed that for this turn. Done. Right? So it's slow moving, of course. You got the double corpse carts to make sure that you're getting the proper buffs and everything. You know, the -1 to wound the zombies is significant because you want to try and keep as many around as possible.
Right, yeah.
They have no save. But they will have a +1 save in the first round, which again is to try and make sure that they survive long enough to get there.
Just a little to get there, yeah.
So then in this one, I also threw in the Balewind Vortex and the Chronomantic Cogs, right? Cogs try and get them up the board faster.
Yep.
Vortex to give wider range to Van Hels on one of the Necros.
Oh, okay, I see. All right.
Yeah.
I was going to say I could not see the reason for the Balewind, but
And you get to cast 2 spells.
you could kind of, technically use 1 Necromancer to hit 2 units. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just something to play with at first. I think it'd be fun. I think Cogs really is going to help out. You want to try and get the zombies up there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And given you don't necessarily need to charge as long as you're within range, you can run them, right?
Yep.
And it's just a crap ton of wounds.
That ability to pile in 6 is huge, and it on any unit, but zombies, it mitigates a lot of their movement problems, which is a 4-inch movement. Cogs makes it, 6?
Yep, 6 inches. So then you have up to a 12-inch wind run.
Yeah, I mean, you could be there with, and that could get real ugly when you're looking at that Van Hels little shenanigans you're going to pull. That could be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Particularly when you think we're on a smaller board size now, and you have 160 bodies.
That could eat some Fire Slayer Hearthguard, and it could put a hurting on their. Oh boy, I mean, just weight of dice.
Yeah,
is gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
when you're putting out that many mortal wounds,
it's such a fun list.
I gotta go buy zombies. Well, actually, I have like probably 200 zombies painted. So some of them are romantic zombies, but whatever.
I mean, sounds like you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I personally have 3 zombies painted. I've got 60 more to build, so I'll be at my standard 80, which is pretty much what I use in my vehicles list. Oh, and by the way, just to go back on it, the Castelai came out to 1980, and the Uppsala Zombies came out to 1970. It's kind of hard to get those last little bits.
Sure.
I might throw in another cheap endless spell or something, but
Yeah.
that's just sort of like the basis work from there, right? Now, Virkos, this will come in at 1990. So for Virkos, I went with Radukar the Beast, obviously.
Go figure.
Belladama Volga,
Yes.
obviously. And then Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. Right? Yeah, so instead of going like all the foot characters, I thought I would try it out to make sure you have the Velazda because, well, one, Hunter Snare, being able to count as 14 models.
That's huge. Yeah.
Huge. Then I've got 2 units of Deadwalker Zombies, both at 40. 2 units of Direwolves, both at 10. 2 Corpse Carts. I threw the Cogs in there as something to test out, just so we can try and push the zombies a little bit further. And then the Umbral Spell Portal. Of course, we talked about that. The Umbral Spell Portal there is to work alongside Belladama.
Yes.
With her, she's so good. So good. Her Lichen Curse. That spell, well, so first off, she's a double caster.
Yeah.
She re-rolls, and I think she's got +1 to casting.
I think so, yeah.
This is, if successfully cast, you do D3 mortal wounds to a unit, and for any of the models that are slain, right, you set up a Direwolf within 3 inches of the slain model's unit, right? So with the Umbral Spell Portal, you give yourself this extended range.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And then you're like, oh, those are some really cool archers you've got there. Right? Let me D3 mortal wounds them real quick. And then they've got the dire wolves 3 inches away, right? So, I mean, of course, you'd hope for, spike the D3, get 3 dire wolves, because they're all usually 1 wound models each.
Yep.
And then they're just 3 inches away. So in the charge phase, they're in. And so that unit is stuck dealing with them until they can kill him.
Oh,
right?
man.
Which is just enough stall. And so you can get
probably,
Radikar up there. That way you can move Belladama up there. And of course, Belladama is going to be surrounded by at least 1 unit of direwolves because she's got the shrug to them.
Yeah. She's going to, she has to have them.
Yeah. And so then you're accelerating up. You're going to smash in with Radikar. Radikar is probably, next to the Vamp Lord, he's just a bomb. Like he comes in swinging.
He's angry.
And so you've got the initial crash, with the Vampire Lord, dire wolves, all that stuff. And then your zombies are coming up behind, right? So that's sort of like a starting place for all of these factions. Certainly with Virkos, if you wanted to swing more wolfy, they still count as Deadwalker units. So, drop however many zombies you want to in order to accommodate for that.
Bring in wolfies,
Corpse carts, they're just so good. Like one of the best non-hero units in the book next to like zombies. Because you've got the auras they put out, and if someone's like going to try and like shoot down the corpse carts to try and like make it so I don't have the auras, I'm like, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and kill my 80-point model.
Yeah, you got me.
Yeah.
All right, you win.
All right. 40 zombies, by the way.
Yeah, let's play it out, but yeah, you got this.
So those are just my starting points.
Oh, man.
I think there's so much to do here and so much to try out. And with 3.0 coming down, we don't want to marry ourselves to a very particular play.
Yeah.
And, like yours is a great list for like, if you probably already had it, jump on in.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone has those old ugly ass zombie models, jump on in,
Yep.
Otherwise, you're going to have to get to building. Most people should have, if you were playing Death before, have the Vlazd. But then again, you don't want to miss out on Belladama or Radikar. Like, there's such beautiful models, such a joy to put together.
And all these new models they definitely have a place, not just in Virkos, but they bring something to the table in any of these vampire armies. Because again, going back to the beginning, they're all vampires.
Yeah.
They are all in some way have that keyword, which is folded in and out of every single ability in this book. Yep. So they're key to, and honestly, they are a good refresh and a good facelift for the faction, which only really had a few heroes before. Mm-hmm. And most of them were very pigeonholed into what they did. Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon does not do many things other than what he does well. Whereas the Necromancer only really does what he does. He's not somebody that's going to go out and win you a melee.
No.
If he's not surrounded by skeletons and zombies to do his bidding, he's not out there. So, speaking of leaders, is there, I don't know. There's this, I personally wish that there was some way that I could like customize a leader,
Yeah, so Anvil Blood, as we talked a little bit earlier, is so fun. Anvil Apotheosis too. And
yeah,
I'm getting so excited about this because with the stores opening back up, how it usually goes at Warhammer Rio Rancho is that we run narrative events.
Yes.
Right? Whereas like you would use Path to Glory before.
Right.
And now with Anvil of Apotheosis and, for the Soulblight purposes, Anvil of Blood, we now are placed in a situation where we can actually do more than we could before in Path to Glory. This is a true narrative construct where you get to develop a character, give them relevant abilities that then could, create a story.
Yes.
Right? Or the story you create for them informs what it is that you pick. Right? And so, the two, how it is you have destiny points that you use to spend on your champion.
Yes.
Right? And you either have 20 to start or 40.
Yes.
Right? And that's considered, what your max is going to be. Then you first start by picking your archetype for the Anvil of Blood, Necromancer, White King, Martial Vampire Lord, and Arcane Vampire Lord. The differences being Martial Vampire Lord, they get access to command abilities.
Yep.
Whereas the Arcane Vampire Lord has access to spells. So they actually split that up.
Which is super cool.
Yeah.
It allows you, and let me back up real quick. We started talking about Anvil of Blood. The Anvil of Blood rules are in White Dwarf 464.
Yeah.
So if you have an interest in playing Death of any kind, but mostly Soulblight, pick up 464 because the Anvil of Blood rules, which are, extra Anvil of Apotheosis rules for this. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on.
No problem. So, depending on what you get, so the Necromancer and the Arcane Vampire Lord get spells. The White King and the Martial Vampire Lord get the command abilities.
Yep.
And so you can look them at the next page. So I'm just going to pick out the ones I like the most. So for command abilities, my Legion, I Summon Thee, is definitely my favorite. So use at the end of the movement phase. If you do so, you pick a friendly model. This command ability, one friendly unit currently set up in the grave as a reserve unit. You can set up that reserve unit on the battlefield wholly within 12 inches of the model picked and more than 3 inches from all enemy units.
Wait. The standard is 9. Did you say 3 inches?
I sure did.
Holy crap. That means I could be in melee range right now.
So just imagine the Oops All Zombies.
Oh, God. Can you imagine that? Oh.
There's 40 zombies 3.1 inches away. And I choose them to fight. We pile in, right?
Jesus.
And then, of course, you have like a Necro nearby, so you Van Hells them. Yeah.
That's really dumb.
So spicy. Well, you Van Hells them the next turn.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then spells, I like All Is Dust.
All is dust.
Oh,
Yep.
God.
Casting value is 7, so it's a little tougher to cast. But yeah, pick one enemy unit within 18 inches of caster and visible to them. Worsen the save characteristic of that unit by D3. Ouch.
Yep.
I mean, ow. It's a minimum of 1. We know that. But that could really put a hurting on enemy heroes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's until the start of your next hero phase. So even if you get double turned.
Yep.
Yeah, it's, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a powerful, powerful, powerful thing.
Yeah, imagine spiking on that. And then, suddenly your elite units don't matter anymore. Even thinking about the Annihilators that are coming out in Dominion.
Think about them. Would they're 2-up save?
Yeah, they go to a 5-up.
You roll 3 and they're a 5-up? That would seriously mess with their whole day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're meant to make armor saves from the looks of it.
Yeah.
They get wrecked. The next thing you get to do is you get to pick your items. And, of course, you have to pay destiny points for this, so you have to keep track of it, right?
Oh, yeah, you're paying for all these cool
yeah.
things. Don't think for a moment you're not.
And there's some interesting ones in here. So two-handed weapons, the Black Axe is pretty cool. Cursed Mace is all right. Most of the one-handed weapons aren't terribly great. I mean, at first blush, you look at the stiletto and you're like, -3 Ren, 2 damage, but then it's only 1 attack.
Yeah.
And then the shields are pretty interesting. I think the Enchanted Shield is probably where you want to go if you have the destiny points for it, because you improve your save characteristic by 1, and once per turn, you can reroll a failed save roll.
Costs 3 destiny, though. So
I know.
It's pricey, but it's, that's huge.
That's pretty big. Then you can get Bestial Companions. This is where I think it gets super cool.
Oh, but wait, look. Could you perhaps maybe ride a dragon?
Well, you can certainly ride a gargantuan beast.
God almighty. Add 8 to you. Now, keep in mind, this is not going to be for the 20 destiny point, because this is 15 destiny points to add a gargantuan beast.
Yep.
So if you want to make your new lord or your new creation on a Terrorgeist or zombie dragon, it's going to be pricey. But when you look at the other ones, the minor beasts, the mounted beasts, and again, they don't tell you what these are.
No.
They simply give you the stat lines and the damage tables and all that other stuff and how it works. You can model it any way you want. So if you want a vampire lord on a cabbage, you make a vampire lord on a cabbage. It works.
Yes, sir.
And if you want a vampire lord on a hell pit abomination, okay, that's what you have. So yeah, it's, man, so much fun.
So great. You get to choose actual Bestial Companion options. So this is where if you actually wanted to make the zombie dragon or whatever it is, you can go and buy, with DP over here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun stuff in here. Some of them are gargantuan beast only. One thing that, is probably going to be really fun is if you do the middle of the road with the mounted beast, you can still make it fly.
Yes.
Right? So you can have a Soulblight version of like Reikenor going around kind of a thing.
Yeah, or honestly, you could have some. To me, I think like the Flamespire Phoenix would be more of a gargantuan, but you could call it the mounted beast. It doesn't. The size of the model doesn't matter. It's what you pay the points for is the stat line you get.
Yep.
And you make it winged, and so you could get really super creative, or a Star Drake, or one of the what's his names, one of the chocobos. So.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can have all kinds of different things, and if you death it up just right.
I mean, you could do Necromancer on Mega Gargant.
Yeah. Oh God.
Same size base as the zombie dragon, right?
Oh my God.
You just have this undead monstrosity that he's just directing.
Oh my Lord, pulling the strings.
Yep.
Oh, that would be so cool. Okay, anyway, that just gave me a hellish idea.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, have fun with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun with that one. Then you get characteristics, enhancements, and abilities. This is where you get to like try to pump some things up.
Yeah, that's where you personalize them and give them, you name it. I mean, you can give them what Curse of Lycan, Curse of Midnight, Dark Acolyte. It's just Anvil of Apotheosis turned on for death. You can do Spirit Host kind of things, Ethereal Nature, give them bat wings. It's you can get nuts customizing a hero to be exactly what the model you build or you have in mind, or you could just go in here crazy and get an idea and then build that. So either way you want to do it. Anvil of Blood is very, very cool, and I'm hoping they keep going with that kind of a thing. We have seen we've seen it for Chaos.
Yep.
And of course the Anvil of Apotheosis is sort of generic.
Yeah.
So itself, those rules are great. I would love to see them do even if it's just like a perfect bound softcover book, just give us all these options. Mm-hmm. And who knows, they might get to it. I mean, I think it's popular enough that they will get to it.
I think so too. And I think with things opening back up, we're actually going to see a lot more, use out of it. It'd be so fun to have sort of like a modeling and painting challenge, not competition necessarily, at the local store alongside this, right? Where you are creating your character.
Yes.
Right? That would just be so fun. And I imagine what probably we'd have to do is make it so you couldn't have the gargantuan beast to start.
Yeah.
But it'd be fun to
grow into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, tons of fun. And, one thing about the Anvil of Apotheosis or Anvil of Blood, these are obviously for narrative games. The ability to use them in a competitive setting is completely up to the TO. Mm-hmm. And you really have to get a read, because don't take one of these homebrew creations to a tournament and expect it to just work.
Yeah.
So make sure you've talked to the TO first. So overall, what do we think of the book?
Overall, personally, I love it.
Yeah.
Right. We've got some really fun units, some really fun combos. It's not overpowered. It's not underpowered generally too. Depending on your builds, there's a lot of room for creativity, and particularly in list construction, which I think is a strong suit or a strong part of this book. Because like I said, I burned through 3 lists, just like, well, here's what I do, here's what I do here, here's what I do here to start. But obviously that's a rough draft. There are definitely places to pull and put things where they need to be. Plus, when you start working on the smaller table sizes, see how things measure out. As far as it goes, I think it harkens very well towards what we could expect to see in AoS 3.0. And so I'm going to have a lot of fun with this book.
Yeah, I think so. I'm death at heart, and I see so many. I literally want to buy like 3 boxes of everything in this, just because I want to put it all, and have the ability to pick and choose what I want, but I know I'll never get to it. So the idea that this book, there are so many viable options that I don't see anything where it's, again, said it before, There's no list that pops out of this book and says, this is what you play from that book. You can mix and match to your heart's desire and still probably have a reasonably effective list. Now, I told you this list is non-competitive as all hell. With a couple of tweaks, this could become a very competitive list. And honestly, you drop Belladama, you take Look of Eye, you split up the Blood Knights, like you were talking about, into two groups, maybe drop the Death Rattles. Now, all of a sudden, you not only have the Blood Knights as a threat coming in from the grave sites, but you also have 3 big, beefy monsters that have to be dealt with. Yeah. And if we see changes to the monster in AoS 3.0, what does that mean? So, we've seen how effective the 5 Terrorgeists can be in the Flesh Eater Courts list in the Gristlegore. Maybe you can do the same thing with this book. Or like you said, maybe the key is 160 zombies. Maybe the key is, 200 skeletons. We don't know, because until we play it, and honestly, I don't think you can cast a rock at any of those ideas and say that just won't work, because it probably will work. Will it go 5-0? Who knows? Will this book on its own probably be very competitive in the very near future? I think so.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see a lot of questions be answered in terms of how things are being structured. I would definitely be keeping an eye on Virkos, given that they can have up to 5 generals.
Yes.
Because that may be very significant for how the army construction
and 3.0 works.
Yeah. So I would likely recommend making sure you're ready to fire off on all cylinders. If you're playing Soulblight, make sure you're ready to fire off on Virkos.
Yeah.
If you want to, start pushing ahead, right? I'm excited for it. I'm excited for what this means for the future, and just what it means right now, even.
Yeah, it's a good book. I got nothing. I can't say anything bad about it. I really can't say anything sucks in this book, other than the spell lore.
And the Black Knights, I think.
Okay. That was the one I was thinking of, as the Black Knights. You can, if you're not using any, you can use those as Blood Knights. But yeah, Black Knights, I don't know. With the Blood Knights coming out, I knew they weren't going to get that much of a bump. I just didn't think they would languish as far back as they did. So, but that's okay. They've been replaced by new guys. Yeah. Only the Stormcast could figure that one out. So, I mean, maybe they have. Sorry, it's just a cheap shot at Sigmar. I think that should cover our thoughts on Soulblight and what we thought was key. Again, we're not going to cover this War Scroll is so much better than that one. That's been done on every show. If you want to hear that, listen to Rustville. Listen to Facehammer. Listen to Vince. You'll get that in droves, but it's a 4-hour show, and we're going to try to keep this to 3. Because we don't want to get excessive. Yeah, okay. Wow. So, what do we have in the offing?
So, I think that's it. I'll just have some reminders for you here. Next time, we're probably going to take a look at Broken Realms Kragnos.
Whoa, is that coming?
Yeah. deep dive on the story again. Probably looking at the War Scrolls, our ideas. Bill can continue to rant about how Kragnos is a dumpster fire. But, you stay engaged with us on social media, for sure. Yep. Again, we're at the Rolling Bad Podcast on Instagram. We are on Twitter as well. This show will be streaming on YouTube and almost every podcast site out there. So keep an eye out for us. And again, don't forget about the giveaway for the Cursed City. We have the link down in the description, so you can go and donate. Again, $5 counts as one entry. Yep. So for every $5 you spend, you get an entry. It's a good cause, St. Jude's Hospital. That way we can help with cancer research. Again, the Patreons will always get their entries based off of their level. Yep. But certainly, please go donate to the GoFundMe page, so that way, make sure that, 1, you get an additional entry, but 2, your money goes to a good cause.
Yes, very good cause. And you get a chance to win Cursed City, which I have to tell you right now is every bit as good and better than Blackstone Fortress. And it's the AoS game we always wanted, Yep. Silver Tower was, when it first came out, it was amazing, but then it just got kind of weird, and Shadows over Hammerhall was like a flop, I think. I'm not surprising anybody by saying that. But they learned from those, and when Blackstone Fortress hit, you can see they took all those lessons and really made a fantastic game. And by virtue of that, they made Cure City even cooler. And like I said, that was probably one of the best group gaming things I've ever been involved with, was that game Monday night. It was nail biting. It was teeth clenching. There was no hope. Then there was a glimmer of hope. And then there was, we win. And that's how a game should be. It should take you from high to low and low to high and make you feel invested. So, and there's a copy in shrink wrap waiting for you. That's right. You, Brian. Yeah. No, the other one. Yeah. Put your hand down. You're not getting it. So yeah, that's it. Again, sorry for being a week late, but things happen, and we will see you in 2 weeks with another heavyweight. Correct.
See you then, folks.
If you would like to get in touch with us, you can reach us at our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/rollingbadpodcast, all one word. Our Patreon page is at www.patreon.com/rollingbadpodcast, again, all one word. The Twitter account for the show is at rolling_bad. And our individual Twitters are, for me, at Bill Castello, BILLCASTELLO. All of our guests on the show will have their contact information in that show's show notes. The music in the show is used courtesy of Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com and used under the Creative Commons license. The Rolling Bad podcast is protected under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Information for this license can be found at creativecommons.org.